Chapter 121. Seeing the second mural, Lin Luoran can't help but feel surprised. It is still the same mountain, but the mural shows a grand wedding in the world of cultivation. In an open square that can accommodate thousands of people, a couple is holding hands and looking at each other. Lin Luoran can't see the faces of the bride and groom. She can only see them from the back. The groom is wearing a high crown and a robe similar to that of the Tang dynasty. The bride is wearing a palace dress. What surprises Lin Luoran is the hairpin in the bride's hair. Although there are only a few strokes, Lin Luoran is 100% sure that it is Sword of Bright Snow. Is the bride White Fairy? White Fairy is sleeping at this time. Lin Luoran carefully remembers all the details of the mural and doesn't say anything. When Guanjing may still be immersed in the history of Zhu Mountain. Even if he sees Lin Luoran's expression, he won't notice the small hairpin in the mural. What is this? Lin Luoran pretends to be curious. When Guanjing calms down and looks carefully for a while. There are so many guests at the wedding in the world of cultivation. The guests are all dressed differently, including Buddhism and Taoism. He can tell that the groom is wearing a Tang suit and the bride is also wearing a palace dress. This wedding is undoubtedly in the territory of Zhu Mountain. There are records of this square that can accommodate thousands of people in later generations. However, it is strange that this unprecedented grand wedding in the world of cultivation is not mentioned in the notes of Zhu Mountain. It can't be. He sorts out his words and tells Lin Luoran, making her more confused. A wedding that alarmed all the sects and clans but was not recorded. What was hidden in it? Is it related to what happened to White Fairy? Lin Luoran doesn't know why, but she has this absurd idea. Maybe the truth she wants to know is in the underground palace. Lin Luoran looks at the gate at the end of the square. She takes a deep breath and stops in front of the third mural. Different from the first two mural, the third mural is in a different place. In the vast desert, there are many cultivators looking up at the sky. The sky was a 7-colored halo of light. In addition to the cultivators in the desert who were looking up, there were also quite a few cultivators who had already flown into the halo of light. There were some whose bodies had mostly sunk in, and some whose clothes had just touched the halo of light. Lin Luoran's fingers tremble slightly. Brother, come and have a look. When Guanjing looks at it carefully for a while, his facial expression changes. He remembers a popular story in the world of cultivation about the sudden disappearance of gathering vitality cultivators 1,000 years ago. Suddenly, a 7-colored divine light fell from the sky. There was an oracle from the upper realm. What exactly did this oracle say? Naturally, the low-level cultivators didn't know. It was just an oracle, and all the nascent soul experts mysteriously disappeared. According to the murals, he was taken away by the colorful halo. When Guanjing's heart is pounding. Nowadays, Reiki on the earth is not as good as before, and cultivation is getting more and more difficult. If he can find out why the cultivators in the level of gathering vitality left, will he be able to find another way of cultivation? He looks at Lin Luoran. Does she also think of this? The two of them carefully examined the murals. Unfortunately, every part of the desert was the same, unlike the dungeon, which had different terrains. Even after looking at it for a long time, they could not feel any difference from other places. It was impossible to find this place. Lin Luoran is a little disappointed. Suddenly, she remembers that this is only the third mural. Judging from the length of the stone path, there are still 2 more murals that can't be finished. Maybe there is more information. Lin Luoran hurriedly moves 2 steps to the 4th mural. However, she is disappointed. The 4th mural is blank. It is not blank, but 1 inch deeper than the previous ones. The wall is clean and flat. The murals here have been erased by magic. What on earth is painted on the wall? Is it the secret of the disappearance of the cultivators in the level of gathering vitality? Who was the one who erased it? Lin Luoran and Wen Guanjing are naturally disappointed. After hesitating for a while, they come to the stone door. There are 2 wooden pishio carved on both sides of the stone door. However, they are different from the usual pishio. There are 2 horns on their heads. Pishio represents wealth. One horn is Tianlu, and the other 2 horns are exorcism. This is a mausoleum. When Guanjing murmurs to himself. Suddenly, he looks up and says to Lin Luoran. A mausoleum is a tomb. Lin Luoran frowns. How did Wen Guanjing find things in a tomb? She has read many books such as Ghost Blows Out the Light. The mausoleums of emperors and generals are all strange. This is obviously a tomb of a cultivator. Isn't it more dangerous? Wen Guanjing also frowns. He takes out the sheepskin map again and reads the strange words on it. It doesn't say that this place is a mausoleum. When Guanjing finally puts the map into his pocket and chooses the latter between disturbing the ancestors of Zhu Mountain and the disappearance of the cultivators in the level of gathering vitality 1,000 years ago. He tries to push the stone door. However, a fire bursts out of nowhere and burns his sleeves. Luckily, he reacts quickly and tears off his sleeves. Otherwise, even his hands will be burned. Cultivators have many tricks up their sleeves. This is certainly not an ordinary fire. When Guanjing does not dare to try it again. He thinks for a while and tries several spells of Zhu Mountain to collect inhibition. With a flash of red light, the stone door opens slowly. When Guanjing finally stops sweating out of guilt. Fearing that there is still danger, he walks in front of Lin Luoran. Lin Luoran follows him closely. When she swings her skirt, she feels that the wooden pishio carvings on both sides of the stone door are alive. Lin Luoran guesses that the door must be a dead tomb. However, she doesn't expect that this place is round on the top and clean on the bottom. There is a huge pond in which there are many lotus flowers, pink or white. Occasionally, there are a few purple ones, which are indescribably enchanting. The fragrance of lotus is so clear that everything in front of Lin Luoran is too real if it is an illusion. Lin Luoran uses her clear eyes to look around. The lotus flowers are still lotus flowers and the pond is still the pond. From afar, Lin Luoran sees a round table in the middle of the pond. On the top of the table, there is a pearl as big as a big bowl, which illuminates the underground palace which can accommodate 1,000 people. On the round table, Lin Luoran sees a transparent crystal coffin. Lin Luoran only takes a glance at it and she is enchanted by it. When Guanjing also notices that something is wrong with Lin Luoran. He is about to pull her up. However, Lin Luoran is walking towards the round table with lotus flowers under her feet. Sister Lin. When Guanjing shouts in surprise and runs after her. Lin Luoran's personal ability is higher than his, so she comes to the round table in a moment. She leans towards the crystal coffin as if she is under a spell. Hearing Wen's shout, she turns around and looks at the crystal coffin. She is stunned. The crystal coffin is white and flawless. Under the light of the pearl, it is transparent. Looking down from the coffin, Lin Luoran sees a woman in a palace dress lying quietly in the coffin. Her hair is tied up in a bun, her eyebrows are black, her lips are red, and her cheeks are rosy. A peony flower in her hair is also very fresh. She is gorgeous and it seems that she is just sleeping. Sister Lin, get out of here. When Guanjing finally catches up with Lin and is about to pull her away. Hearing his loud shout, Lin Luoran struggles to wake up. She looks at the person in the crystal coffin in horror, the eyes, the eyebrows, the lips, and the faint arrogance. The person lying in the coffin is obviously White Fairy. Is this the corpse of White Fairy? Chapter 122. The person in the coffin suddenly opens her eyes. A ray of light rushes into Lin Luoran's face. Lin Luoran has nowhere to hide. She is stunned. When Guanjing also sees the ray of light. As a learned man, he thinks of many things at once. He looks at Lin Luoran and murmurs, possession. The dead woman in the coffin is extremely beautiful, and Lin Luoran is also beautiful. They are like a peony and a green lotus, each with its own merits. Even if you are a descendant of Zhu Mountain, I will not make things difficult for you. If you want to meddle in my business, humph. Lin Luoran says without moving her lips, but it is not her original voice. The female voice is soft, but cold and vicious. When Guanjing feels cold from his feet to his back. It is not Lin Luoran's voice. So, the dead woman has the upper hand now. When Guanjing has mixed feelings. This mausoleum obviously belongs to the ancestors of Zhu Mountain. The murals on the wall and the inhibition guarding the door show that the dead woman in white is not a senior cultivator of Zhu Mountain, but she must have a deep connection with Zhu Mountain. Those who are not in the level of gathering vitality cannot use the secret method of possession. That is to say, the dead woman in white used to be a senior cultivator in the level of gathering vitality. If she succeeds, Zhu Mountain will have one more person who used to be in the level of gathering vitality. When Guanjing feels that his calm heart is beating so fast for the first time. However, the method of possession is evil since ancient times, and it is not shameful for the famous schools. When Guanjing has been educated to be fair and peaceful since he was a child, which conflicts with his moral view. On one hand, he is tempted by a senior cultivator in the level of gathering vitality, and on the other hand, he is condemned in his heart. Besides, the dead woman in white is taking over Lin Luoran's body, Lin Luoran, who looks cold but is actually kind to everyone she knows. Lin Luoran has just been accepted by a senior cultivator. She is firm about cultivation, but her life has just begun, when Guanjing's struggle in his heart is even more intense than the struggle in Lin Luoran's body. As for Lin Luoran, she knows that something bad is going to happen when the ray of light enters her mind. Possession. Anyone who had casually read a couple of cultivation novels would be very familiar with this phrase. In the novels, the protagonists would either try to take over someone else's body or be taken over, and they would only cheer for the plot without the slightest bit of moral burden. Those who read the novels would know that it was fake, so they naturally wouldn't put themselves in it. However, when Lin Luoran experienced it herself, she realized that it was not a simple plot in a novel. If the dead woman took over her body, there would be no trace of Lin Luoran in the whole world. Since the birth of the divine sense, the sea of knowledge would be opened. It was different from the general description in novels that it was in the brain. The specific location was actually in the pineal gland, which was below the Baihui acupoint, between the eyebrows, and behind the glabella. There was a reddish-brown bean-shaped body that was no more than a few millimeters long and wide. The ocean is only a few millimeters in size. The ocean is, which is, there is, and is, in. Lin Luoran's cultivation is not high, but her spiritual mind is different from that of ordinary people. When the dead woman in white enters the ocean, she can't help but be surprised. However, she has seen all kinds of things for many years. She forgets this anomaly in an instant. Like a sword, she slashes at Lin Luoran's spiritual mind. Lin Luoran looks at the dead woman who looks exactly like White Fairy. She has mixed feelings. The soul stone is lying quietly in her universal sac. Is it all a trap set by White Fairy? White Fairy. Lin Luoran knows that White Fairy has ulterior motives, but what she is seeing still makes her uncomfortable. The dead woman squints when she hears that Lin Luoran calls her White Fairy. White Fairy. You know me. The dead woman says, but her hands don't stop moving. Lin Luoran understands it, but it is hard for her to accept it emotionally. Now she hears White Fairy saying that she knows her. Lin Luoran has been with White Fairy for days. How can she just know her? Lin Luoran immediately realizes that no matter how the woman is related to White Fairy, she is definitely not the White Fairy she knows. Yes, no matter how meticulous White Fairy is, she can't predict that Lin Luoran will follow when Guanjing to the underground palace. Why does White Fairy wait for Lin Luoran here so that she can possess her body? Realizing that it is not a conspiracy, Lin Luoran feels more energetic. She avoids the attack of the female corpse and steps aside. However, Lin's ocean of consciousness is not spacious. In a few seconds, the dead woman in white catches up with her again. Lin has nowhere to run. She is worried that if she doesn't fight back, she will be in a terrible situation. But, this was the sea of consciousness, how could he fight back? Lin Luoran is worried, but she can't use spells. Even if she can, this is her ocean of consciousness. How can she destroy it? The dead woman in white sneers and casts a spell. A fine net falls on Lin Luoran. The dead woman draws back the net and spits out a flame. She is going to burn Lin Luoran's spiritual mind to ashes. The dead woman in white has the upper hand. Lin Luoran is just a cultivator in the level of training qi. Therefore, the dead woman occupies Lin Luoran's body while burning Lin Luoran's spiritual mind. When Guanjing is still struggling, but Lin Luoran suddenly opens her eyes and moves her hands and feet. She hasn't had a real body for many years, which makes her happy. When Guanjing looks at Lin Luoran, she has the same face, but when Guanjing can tell that she is not Lin Luoran at first glance. She is not Lin Luoran. Has she lost? When Guanjing feels lost, Lin Luoran rolls her eyes and her eyes come alive. She stares at Wen Guanjing and asks, "This body doesn't practice the Heart Sutra of Zhu Mountain. Which branch are you from?" Wen Guanjing doesn't know who she is, so he doesn't dare to lie to her. He says respectfully, "I'm from the branch of the Wen family of Zhu Mountain. I'm the 53rd generation." He lowers his head to hide the surprise in his eyes. The 53rd generation of the Wen family? So, it has been more than 1,000 years. Lin Luoran frowns. It seems that she can't accept that time flies. Wen stands still for a while and has no time to check the nature of Lin Luoran's Taoist root. There are so many questions in Wen Guanjing's mind. Looking at the Lin Luoran, who is standing in front of him, he knows that she is a high-ranking cultivator on the inside. If he delays any longer, she will have no chance. Wen Guanjing casts a complicated spell quietly. Seeing that Lin Luoran is still in a trance, his palms are sweaty and the blue veins on his neck are tight. He moves his hands quietly, bang. A flash of light hits Wen Guanjing's shoulder. Wen Guanjing's unfinished spell is broken and he falls into the lotus pond, making a big splash. The lotus flowers are broken and the leaves are broken under his weight. Lin Luoran sneers, "You betray your school for a woman. Even if you are a disciple of Zhu Mountain, what is the use of keeping you?" Chapter 123. Lin Luoran is furious when Wen Guanjing talks about the evil spirit. She slaps him back and Wen Guanjing rolls back into the lotus pond. His right face is swollen, but he doesn't want to admit defeat. He stands up again and staggers, stepping on several lotuses. Even people who don't like flowers will feel sorry for such a beautiful lotus. However, Lin Luoran has a lot of impatience in her eyes. It seems that she hates the lotus in the pond very much. However, Lin Luoran doesn't know who planted the pond full of flowers in the mausoleum to accompany her to sleep for thousands of years. When Guanjing spits out a mouthful of blood, "What did you do to her?" Lin Luoran says with a faint smile, "Since you know about possession, I have occupied this body and your lover's soul is gone." When Guanjing is furious, but he doesn't bother to explain to the dead woman that Lin Luoran is not his lover. In fact, under the fire of the dead woman, Lin Luoran is in great pain at first. She whines and then stops moving. However, her spiritual mind is not burned into ashes. The dead woman is not sure whether Lin Luoran is dead or not, so she doesn't let go of the big net made by her spiritual mind. Lin Luoran takes a look at the crystal coffin. The dead woman is still beautiful. She draws a water mirror and looks at herself. Lin Luoran is not satisfied with her beautiful face. However, she can only use the possession spell once. Besides, there are only one man and one woman here. The dead woman has no choice but to take Lin Luoran's body. Seeing that Wen Guanjing is moving again, the dead woman loses her patience with this young man of Zhu Mountain School. She draws her right hand and the harmless lotus leaves come close to Wen Guanjing. Wen Guanjing's whole body is covered by the lotus leaves. He can't even move. Seeing that the babbling, righteous young man was gone, the dead woman grinned and began to check the condition of her body. The big net is still covering the spiritual mind of the owner of this body. The dead woman takes a look at it and then turns her attention to Lin Luoran's body. Looking at the fire Reiki in her meridians, the dead woman frowns and says to herself, the Taoist root of fire. This is a bit troublesome. She used to be a cultivator of both water and wood. Water was the embodiment of wood, and wood protected water. She made rapid progress in her cultivation. Although she was possessed, it was not difficult for her to regain her previous cultivation by relying on her previous understanding of cultivation. But why did she have to be a cultivator of fire, which conflicted with water? The dead woman thinks that this body can use the spell of water so easily, which proves that she has the Taoist root of water. Having two natures is good, but it is only for the complementary natures of water and wood, gold and fire. Water and fire are incompatible. If the Taoist root of the two natures is opposite to each other, it is not a good quality but a burden. The dead woman looks at Lin Luoran's body carefully. She finds that except for fire Reiki, the rest of the Reiki in Lin Luoran's body is white. Even though she is knowledgeable, she has never seen a cultivator in the level of training Qi with white Reiki. The dead woman frowns at first. Then she thinks that there must be some reason why the original owner of this body can cultivate. Does she have some special spell that she has never heard of? Or does she have some treasure? The dead woman opens the universal sack. It is full of ordinary spirit herbs and seeds. There is a black stone. She recognizes it as a soul stone, but she doesn't pay much attention to it. The bag is ordinary, and the things inside are even more ordinary. Except for the bag of seeds, the female cultivator has nothing else. This is so strange. Not to mention elixirs, the dead woman was a female cultivator when she was alive. How can she not understand the characteristics of female cultivators? Let alone accessories, women are born to love beauty. Even if they wear dust-proof clothes, they will have several clothes to change into. Even if the female cultivator doesn't care about appearance, why doesn't she have one or two magic weapons to protect herself in the universal sack? There is only one reason. Lin Luoran thinks for a while and looks at the bead on her wrist. A high-rank storage magic weapon can be decorated with all kinds of accessories. Only low-rank cultivators will use a common Qiankuan bag. She forgets about this for a moment. This bead is the only thing she wears, so it's naturally it. Lin Luoran's spiritual mind on the universal sack is nothing to the dead woman. When the dead woman finds the bead, she tries to touch it casually. However, the bead doesn't respond at all. It wasn't that her divine sense was blocked, but it was completely like a secular object that didn't respond to her divine sense's probing. Something is wrong. The dead woman in white quickly makes a judgment based on her years of experience. She can tell that the bead is a secular object at first sight. It is impossible that her spiritual mind can't see the inside of the bead. This is interesting, the dead woman smiles instead of being angry. Her eyes are curved, which makes her look charming and gentle. Her expression doesn't match her behavior of taking over a man's body when Guanjing is wrapped in the lotus leaves like a dumpling. He struggles to get his head out of the pool and gasps for oxygen. However, he sees that Lin Luoran is smiling and scratching her wrist with her nails. Blood comes out. Lin Luoran is smiling so hard that she cuts her wrist with her nails. Blood comes out. When Guanjing says anxiously, "Since you have taken over her body, why do you torture her like this?" Lin Luoran looks at him and says with a smile, young man, you are really a man who cherishes the fairer sex. Let me ask you, which school is this girl from? If you tell me everything you know, I will consider not torturing her body. Wen Guanjing is speechless. He wants to answer the question, but he doesn't know which school Lin Luoran is from. He has no choice but to tell the truth. Lin Luoran drops the blood on the bead. The bead absorbs the blood little by little. She says with certainty, as I expected, even her background is mysterious. This is interesting. Wrapped by the lotus leaves, Wen Guanjing can't even breathe. His face turns red because of the lack of oxygen. He has always been a meticulous man. He always believes that Lin Luoran should not die so easily. Seeing that Lin Luoran is talking mysteriously and acting mysteriously, Wen Guanjing can't help but hope that maybe she is still alive. She has to stall for time. Wen Guanjing takes a deep breath and suddenly says, Master, for the sake of bringing you a body, I hope you can answer my question. Because the bead is still absorbing the blood tirelessly, Lin Luoran has time to talk to Wen Guanjing. However, hearing what Wen Guanjing says, she sneers, you are smart. Why aren't you an infatuated man? Although she sneers, she doesn't mind talking to this junior of Zhu Mountain School. She immediately says, go ahead. I'm in a good mood. Maybe I'll tell you everything. Wen Guanjing wants to ask about a lost ancient book of Zhu Mountain School. However, he thinks that it's easy for her to say yes or no. It's not good for stalling at all. Wen Guanjing reluctantly leads the topic to the murals. On the one hand, he also wants to know the mystery of the disappearance of a master in the level of gathering vitality. On the other hand, such a big event can't be explained clearly without some time. Hearing that the junior of Zhu Mountain School is asking about the murals, Lin Luoran shows a mixed expression of fear, nostalgia, relief, loss and happiness. Wen Guanjing can swear that he has never seen anyone with so many expressions at the same time. The expression on Lin Luoran's face gradually returns to normal. She looks at the bead that has stopped absorbing the blood and says seriously, your level of cultivation is low. How can you ask such a question? Let's change the question. I have many secret spells. Don't you want to know them? Lin Luoran is full of temptation. She looks at Wen Guanjing with a smile. Wen Guanjing breathes slowly and shakes his head. Foodies are always tragic. Chapter 124. Lin Luoran doesn't get angry. Instead, she smiles and is about to say something. However, the bead full of blood starts buzzing and vibrating on her wrist. Lin Luoran has no time to talk to Wen Guanjing. She uses her spiritual mind to explore the bead. With Lin Luoran's blood as a guide, the dead woman's spiritual mind enters the bead easily this time. The first thing she sees is the small spring and the medicine shop full of reiki. Though the spirit medicines and herbs here are not of high quality, she is still surprised by the abundant reiki space that claims to be of the same lineage as Wen Guanjing. There is a saying in the world of cultivation that there is a blessed place. According to the standard of reiki, this place is definitely a blessed place. However, no one carries a blessed place with them. The dead woman doesn't know that this place is not only full of reiki for growing spirit medicines, but also has a time difference of 1 year compared to the outside world. Otherwise, she might not be able to calm down and kill Wen Guanjing, who sees the bead buzzing. Even so, she is still very happy. The charm and gentleness on her face are all gone, leaving only the viciousness from hell. Ha ha ha, God is helping me. The dead woman's crazy laughter echoes in the space. She laughs so hard that she is about to cry. She stops laughing when she sees the sort of bright snow in the space. She can only use her spiritual mind to enter the space, but she can't control things in the space. Seeing something that looks like an old thing, the dead woman brings Lin Luoran's whole body into the space. All of a sudden, Lin Luoran disappears. Only the bead she usually wears falls on the ground, making a tinkling sound. Wen Guanjing doesn't know what happened or where the person who has possessed his body has gone. However, He knows that this is not the time to lose. He tries to get rid of the lotus leaves that wrap him up. The dead woman looks at this body. It has hands and feet. She can actually bring it into the space. She is even more sure that this is a blessed place. She picks up the sword of bright snow and looks at the almost destroyed snow sword. She feels like she is struck by lightning. Sword of bright snow. How many years has it been since I last saw you? The dead woman feels lost. Then she becomes ferocious again. No wonder this junior calls you White Fairy. It turns out that she knows you. It's impossible. Your body and soul have been destroyed. How can she know you? The dead woman seemed to be stimulated by something. Her emotions were in a mess. Affected by her spiritual sense, a strong wind blew in the space, blowing the spirit herbs around. She didn't know it and just vented her anger. A beam of light in her hand hit the inhibition of the small wooden house. This time, it was like poking a hornet's nest. Lin Luoran has tried many times. Although she failed to break the inhibition, it was gentle and harmless. However, that was under the condition that she was recognized by the space. At this moment, the dead woman has taken over Lin's body and used her blood as a medium to cast a spell to open the space of the bead. Therefore, Lin's body can come in unimpeded. The spiritual mind of the dead woman does not belong to Lin Luoran, which has already alerted the space. However, the inside of the bead may be like a computer program with a security sequence. Since the dead woman's spiritual mind does not threaten the bead is only alert but does not fight back. When the dead woman's spiritual mind touches the inhibition, the bead finds that it is not Lin Luoran's spiritual mind, which is its designated manager. Finally, the bead explodes. Obviously, if the bead is like a smart computer, Lin Luoran's spiritual mind is the authorized manager. Now that her spiritual mind is different, the bead thinks that she has been poisoned. The antivirus program starts to run automatically without the consent of Lin Luoran, the manager. The inhibition ripples and the dead woman suddenly raises her head. The strong wind in the space finally stops. However, the bead is not going to let the intruder go easily. The inhibition changes like ripples on water. There is a red light above the cabin. A phoenix's cry resounds through the space. A fire phoenix finally shows its head from the inhibition. It looks down at Lin Luoran coldly. It is pure spirit fire, but its eyes are so cold. The dead woman was an absolute master in the world of cultivation when she was alive. Those who can call themselves I are all cultivators of the level of gathering vitality, who are recognized by the world of cultivation. As a high-level cultivator, the dead woman has encountered countless life and death battles. However, she has never met an opponent with such a chilling look as the fire phoenix. After staring at the phoenix for a few seconds, the dead woman feels cold all over her body. She can't help but step back and trample several spirit herbs. At such a moment, she dares not to leave the space. She has an intuition that if she moves, the fire phoenix will kill her without hesitation. The dead woman sweats and suddenly smiles. This bead belongs to the female cultivator. Even if the bead is sealed, she is now in this body. If the fire phoenix wants to kill her, doesn't it mean that it will kill the master as well? The dead woman is relieved and smiles brightly. The fire phoenix seemed to know what she was thinking and revealed a very human-like sneer. It flapped its wings and flew out of the restrictive spell. It gracefully circled above the small wooden house a few times and once again let out a clear cry. At this moment, Lin Luoran's spiritual mind, which is trapped in the ocean of consciousness, starts to move. Humph! The dead woman snorts and immediately withdraws her spiritual mind into the ocean of consciousness. The net she made is still there and the fire is still burning. However, something is struggling in the net. The dead woman pinches her fingers and the fire of spiritual mind burns more fiercely. The struggling thing in the net gradually calms down. The dead woman breathes a sigh of relief. The fire phoenix is so powerful. It seems that it is just a bluff. The dead woman subconsciously feels that she shouldn't be so relaxed. However, she has been sleeping for many years. After 1,000 years, she can not only possess a body but also get such a treasure as the bead. Of course, she is overjoyed. She just needs to get rid of Lin Luoran's spiritual mind and then she can completely take over this body and this mysterious place. Thinking of this, the dead woman's fire of spiritual mind burns like it is free. She can't wait to burn Lin Luoran's spiritual mind into ashes. In the crackling calcination, Lin Luoran's spiritual mind shrinks as the big net shrinks. Finally, it is the size of a walnut. The dead woman smiles and reaches out her hand, ready to crush the walnut. The hand of spiritual mind she transforms is exactly the same as when she was alive. It is white and slender with 10 green fingers. Though it is a vicious thing to destroy someone's spiritual mind, it is undeniable that every move of hers is indescribably beautiful. Unexpectedly, as soon as the dead woman touches the fireball, she screams in pain and takes her hand back as if it is stained with strong acid. White smoke rises from her right hand. She is burned by her own fire of spiritual mind. This is absolutely impossible. Young man, how dare you play tricks in front of me? Looking at her injured hand, the dead woman scolds angrily. However, she only gets a sneer from the walnut-sized ball of fire. After hearing about the tragedy of Fu Dipo's hand, Lin Luoran comforts her today. You have to strive to be an inspirational role model. You have to keep writing. You have to be strong even though you are disabled. Chapter 125. Phew, phew, phew. There will be another chapter later. Try to deliver it before 12 o'clock. There is a saying that real gold is not afraid of fire. The more fire burns gold, the more impurities it will produce, making it purer, brighter, and shinier. There was another saying that the phoenix was a type of divine bird that was passed down from generation to generation. They would always place the phoenix egg in a raging fire and experience the burning of the raging fire. Only under this kind of incessant burning pain day and night could the young phoenix break out of its shell and be reborn. When Lin Luoran was caught in the big net, her spiritual mind was burned by fire. Every part of her body was in pain. At first, the pain was reflected in her body. Later, when her body was taken over by the dead woman, the pain was reflected in her spiritual mind, which was 100 times more painful than before. Lin Luoran was so stubborn that she would rather die than admit defeat. Even if she wanted to give up, the dead woman's fire of spiritual mind would take advantage of her weakness and burn her into ashes. However, the more Lin Luoran struggled, the more pain she felt. Gradually, she felt that her consciousness was blurred. She couldn't tell anything from the fire of spiritual mind and could only curl up into a ball. At first, Lin Luoran could still hear the conversation between Wen Guanjing and the dead woman who wanted to take over her body. Gradually, she felt that the voices outside became lower. Then she could only vaguely remember her name. However, after a while, she couldn't even remember why she fell into such a situation because of the fire of spiritual mind. Shrink a little smaller, so that it won't hurt anymore, right? Lin Luoran's spiritual mind gradually shrank and compressed to the size of a walnut. However, it was an instinctive reaction to protect herself. In fact, her spiritual mind was not bad. With the help of the black epiphyllum on the cliff, Lin Luoran's spiritual mind was much more powerful than that of cultivators at the same level. Along the way, her mentality changed several times and she became more and more suitable for cultivation. Her spiritual mind was much stronger than that of ordinary cultivators in the level of training qi. However, Lin Luoran was at a disadvantage because she was guarding a treasure house. Even in her own ocean of consciousness, she didn't know how to fight back. She was forced to step back again and again by the dead woman. Finally, she was trapped in the small space and couldn't get out. Lin Luoran is in a daze. Suddenly, she hears a clear and melodious sound of a phoenix. The sound is like a morning bell and an evening drum. The sound is so loud that Lin Luoran's spiritual mind is awakened a little bit. When she woke up, she felt a burning pain. The spirit fire of the dead woman was burning her. This kind of pain that went deep into the soul was 100 times more painful than the physical pain. When Lin Luoran is at her wit's end, she hears the clear and loud cry of the phoenix again. She doesn't have time to think about why there is such a sound. She suddenly remembers the legend of the phoenix's rebirth in fire. The young phoenix was born in the raging fire, so why didn't it suffer the pain of the fire? In the past, Lin Luoran scoffed at such a legend. However, now that she is on the path of cultivation, from the point of view of a cultivator, can it be explained that phoenixes are originally of the nature of fire, so they are not afraid of the pain of fire? Lin Luoran seems to be in the same situation now. She is surrounded by boundless fire, burning her all the time. In the same environment, phoenixes can be reborn in fire, but she is in so much pain. Is it because phoenixes are not as noble as holy birds, or there are other secrets? If I am also of the nature of fire. Lin Luoran is so shocked by this idea that she even forgets the pain for a moment. She is only thinking about whether this idea is possible or not. Lin Luoran first thinks of the nature of fire in her body, and then she traces back to the reason of the nature of fire Reiki. Lin Luoran remembers that it was on the rooftop of Baojia's house. At that time, she knew nothing about Reiki and secretly studied the fireball spell cast by Wen Guanjing. By chance, she fell into meditation and felt the Reiki molecules with different natures in the world. The fire Reiki molecules with a small tail were the most naughty. At that time, Lin Luoran's spiritual mind was injured. These Reiki molecules thought that she was easy to bully and came to play with her. At that time, she was immersed in the colorful starry sky. When she woke up, there was a fire Reiki in her body. Is this the feeling at that time? The fire of spiritual mind is still burning. In fact, the real time is very short, but Lin Luoran feels that it has been a long time. It is so long that she only feels pain. It is so long that she becomes stubborn and has to suppress the fire. Lin Luoran spends a lot of willpower to ignore the burning pain of the fire of spiritual mind. She begins to touch the fire of spiritual mind carefully. Without the restraint of the physical body, Lin Luoran's spiritual mind is more than several times sharper now that she is in the ocean of spirit. All the fire in the world is composed of the smallest molecules. Lin Luoran's walnut-sized spiritual mind once again feels those little things with a small tail. However, they are even more bad-tempered than the restless Reiki molecules outside. As soon as they see that Lin Luoran's spiritual mind is gone, they all curl up into a ball and rush to bite her fiercely without any mercy. Lin Luoran's idea of softening them fails. She is so evil that she imagines herself as the fierce Reiki molecules and threatens them fiercely. These fire of spiritual mind hesitate and dare not to burn her as before. Lin Luoran is delighted and decides to be a wicked woman. She divides her spiritual mind into every gap of the fire of spiritual mind. Every trace and every wisp of her spiritual mind is a fierce Lin Luoran. The fire of spiritual mind molecules want to escape, but they are under the command of the dead woman. They have no autonomy and can't do anything. Instead, they become the punching bag in the middle. Some of them are not strong-willed. Seeing how powerful the wicked woman is, they go with the flow and join Lin Luoran, the enemy. When Lin Luoran is having fun, a pair of big hands pinches her. She is infected with the irritation of the fire molecules. Without thinking, she directs the surrendered fire molecules to burn their former masters. Hearing the dead woman's cry of pain and then curse, Lin Luoran is overjoyed and sneers. The dead woman is furious. Get out of here. Although Lin Luoran is protected by the traitor's fire of spiritual mind and doesn't feel the pain of being burned, this is her body after all. The longer the dead woman occupies her body, the more dangerous it will be. She can't be careless. Knowing that she can't hide forever, she naturally wants to go out. However, the circle of fire of spiritual mind is still under the control of the dead woman. How can she get out when she is surrounded? When Lin Luoran is at a loss, she hears another phoenix cry. She grits her teeth and decides to risk her life. If she can't live, she will die a splendid death. Whether it is real gold or not, she has to go through this sea of fire. This rookie who doesn't know how to attack with spiritual mind is willing to risk her life. She doesn't care about her image at all. She leans her spiritual mind on the surrendered fire of spiritual mind and pounces on it to bite the surrounding fire. The surrounding fire of spiritual mind is like an army under remote control. The surrendered fire of spiritual mind is attached to the spiritual mind. Lin Luoran directly crosses to the era of single mecha. Lin Luoran doesn't feel sorry for those who are not her direct subordinates. After most of the fire of spiritual mind is killed, some lucky ones actually consume the enemy with all their strength. Lin Luoran's victory is in sight. The dead woman has the most intuitive feeling. At first, Lin Luoran turns into a wicked woman and integrates herself into the fire of spiritual mind. Naturally, the dead woman doesn't notice it. Later, Lin Luoran directs the army of fire of spiritual mind to rebel. As the former master, the dead woman's feelings are very clear. She has never encountered such a situation. She doesn't expect that it is the desperate fighting method of a little cultivator in the level of training chi. She only thinks that the fire phoenix in the space has done something. She is shocked and angry. When she is about to fight back, she gradually finds that she can't command the fire of spiritual mind anymore. When Lin Luoran commands the army to devour the enemies, the dead woman can only see that the fireball is shrinking and shrinking in a certain frequency. Gradually, the fireball changes its shape from small to large. Eventually, it turns into the shape of the fire phoenix. The dead woman takes 2 steps back and presses her lips tightly. There seems to be some kind of creature in the fire phoenix. Although it is the shape of spiritual mind, it is also amazing. Poof. Chapter 126. Being stared at by Lin Luoran, the dead woman feels cold all over. She is not only in red but also her temperament. She is playing with a small flame in her hand. There is a looming phoenix pattern between Lin Luoran's eyebrows. You are so shameless. You must have been a heroine in the past. How dare you pretend to be White Fairy and try to possess me when I am distracted? The dead woman spits. I don't want to pretend to be someone else's name. My family name is Bai. What's wrong with calling me Fairy? Her family name is also Bai. The bride in the mural is wearing the sword of bright snow, and looks exactly like White Fairy. Lin Luoran has watched a lot of melodramatic TV dramas. She also knows that there is a kind of existence in this world called twins. Is this woman White Fairy's twin sister? Lin Luoran feels disgusted. She doesn't know who the bride in the mural is, but it has nothing to do with her. Lin Luoran has always been a person who can distinguish between kindness and hatred. Even if White Fairy is here today and wants to possess her body, Lin Luoran will still make her disappear without mercy, let alone this sister who comes out of nowhere. How dare you call yourself a fairy? Today, I will destroy your soul and you will never be able to possess me again. The spirit fire in Lin Luoran's hand gradually turns into the shape of a bow. Lin Luoran is reborn from the fire and has an epiphany about fire. She is trying to use the fire arrow spell of the spells of the 5 elements with the spirit fire. The spirit fire gathers in her hand. It has been swallowed by her and no longer belongs to the dead woman, but Lin. Therefore, when it starts, the whole ocean of consciousness is responding. The barren land turns into a sea of fire. Lin Luoran uses the spirit fire in her hand as a primer and casts a spell. The whole ocean of consciousness turns into a sea of fire. It seems that the fire has always been there, but it is just sleeping and now it is awakened. The dead woman sneers. Her spiritual mind turns into rain and the sea of fire fades at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Luoran smiles. She is not in a hurry. As soon as she makes a gesture, the sea of fire spreads again and evaporates the rainwater quickly. When the water meets the fire, it forms a hot airflow. The entire ocean of consciousness feels like it is soaked in steam. It is hot and sweaty. Lin Luoran is fighting with the dead woman with spiritual mind. Though it is not a real spell, the feeling of the spell imprinted in the soul is more real than that of the body. The dead woman is suffering for a while. She had cultivated all her life and only her soul remained. Otherwise, she could easily crush this junior who had not even reached the foundation building level with her little finger. The more she was restrained in the ocean of consciousness, the more she wanted to possess this body. Lin Luoran doesn't have time to pay attention to her. At this moment, her whole body is integrated with the ocean of consciousness. Lin Luoran's control of the world in the ocean of consciousness has reached the peak. She held the bow in her left hand and placed her right hand on the bowstring. She pulled her arm back and the bowstring was pulled to its fullest. Lin Luoran is completely relaxed. She doesn't even need to aim. Lin Luoran is 100% sure that this spirit arrow made of the hottest spirit fire can hit the dead woman in white. The dead woman screams and suddenly disappears. Her voice comes from the void of the ocean of consciousness. I know the mystery of the disappearance of the masters in gathering vitality. Don't you want to know? Is she tempting her? Lin Luoran smiles. Of course, she wants to know the mystery. However, compared to her own life, the biggest mystery is nothing compared to her determination to eliminate this threat. Whoosh, the arrow leaves the bowstring and shoots to somewhere in the ocean of consciousness. There is a sea of fire. The arrow goes in and a white dress falls out. It is the dead woman in white who has been hiding. She wants to say something but stops on second thought. It seems that she has something to say to Lin Luoran. However, before she can say anything, she is shot by the arrow. In front of Lin Luoran, she turns into a puff of white smoke. After 2 circles in the sea of fire, she completely disappears. Lin Luoran puts down the bow. She feels that her spirit is extremely tired and the fire in the ocean of consciousness is fading away. The coldness in Lin Luoran's eyes fades away. She looks at her spirit. Although it is very tired, it seems to be more solid. Could it be that this battle of life and death had strengthened her divine sense? The feeling of regaining control of her body makes her feel at ease. No matter how good it is, she doesn't want to fight with her spirit again. Lin Luoran moves her hands and feet and opens her eyes. She finds that she is in the space and feels lucky. Fortunately, the dead woman has been eliminated. Otherwise, the secret of her space will be exposed. However, the space was unbelievably quiet. What was going on with the phoenix cries that she had heard earlier that woke her up? Lin Luoran looks at the sort of bright snow on the straw mat and feels confused. Is it them? Looking at the spirit herbs lying all over the place, Lin Luoran feels like someone has stepped on the whole space. The spirit herbs and spirit medicines are all over the place. Lin Luoran wants to tidy them up immediately, but she doesn't know how long she has been in here. She is not alone and she can't stay in the space for too long. After the battle, Lin Luoran has lost her usual calmness and cautiousness. She just flashes out of the space. Well, what is this bouncing thing? When Guanjing comes out of the lotus pond and sees that there is only a bead on the ground of the crystal coffin. The dead woman has disappeared with Lin Luoran's body. He thinks for a while and still can't figure out what kind of spell it is. He can only evaporate the water on his body and pick up the bead on the ground. If he really can't find Lin Luoran, when Guanjing thinks that the bead, which she used to wear every day, is a relic. He should keep it well and bring it back to her family. The bead still has the faint fragrance of its owner, but the beauty is gone. When Guanjing feels lost in such an atmosphere no matter how experienced he is. When Guanjing stands there for a while and feels lonely. When he is about to put the bead away, he feels something heavy in his hand. In the blink of an eye, he finds that there is a person in his hand. He almost falls down because of the sudden weight. He leans forward and seems to be closer to the person. He smells a faint fragrance and feels that the fragrance is so familiar to him. He takes a closer look and finds that the face is only the size of a palm. The eyebrows are of the right thickness as if they were painted by the best painter. The skin is white and the eyes staring at him are as bright as the stars in the night. It is her. Standing beside the swaying lotus pond, Wen Guanjing is absent-minded for a moment. Lin Luoran is embarrassed. She never expected that she would be in Wen Guanjing's arms. Seeing that Wen Guanjing is stunned, Lin Luoran blushes because of the beating of his heart. She plucks up the courage to laugh. Chapter 127. Brother, please let me go. Wen Guanjing feels like he has been hit on the head. He grimaces in pain as if he is holding a soldering iron. He puts Lin Luoran on the ground immediately. Wen Guanjing has never been in such an awkward situation in his 30 years as a model. Lin Luoran coughs and Wen Guanjing blushes. He forgets to ask why Lin Luoran suddenly disappeared and then reappeared in his arms. Lin Luoran wishes that Wen Guanjing would not mention it. Although she is also embarrassed, she has to find an excuse to divert Wen Guanjing's attention. Brother Wen, have you found what you are looking for? Wen Guanjing doesn't answer her question. He asks with uncertainty, are you Sister Lin? Lin Luoran finds it funny that he is being so careful. She jokes with him, yes. Wen Guanjing remains calm. However, he is secretly gathering his strength and guarding against Lin Luoran. Lin Luoran has never admitted that she is his sister. Looking at him, Lin Luoran feels that the solemn atmosphere has been diluted a lot. She can't help but laugh. Brother, I'm kidding. It is me. Wen Guanjing looks at her suspiciously. People may look the same, but their temperament is born from the heart. It can't be changed overnight. Lin Luoran's eyes are clear. She is exactly the girl who looked like a bamboo when they first met. She was majestic and unsheathed like Mu Guiying at the back door. Wen Guanjing frowns and smiles bitterly, Sister, please don't make such a joke next time. Lin Luoran is amused by his frown and nods. To be honest, Lin Luoran has a bad impression of Wen Guanjing because of what happened to Zhou Yaowei. Lin Luoran doesn't want to be nice to the whole special department. However, after what happened, Lin Luoran is still conscious when she is under the control of the dead woman's spiritual mind. She knows that Wen Guanjing is on her side at the beginning. They have only known each other for a few days. Lin Luoran is not that shameless to expect Wen Guanjing to risk his life for her. In Lin Luoran's eyes, Wen Guanjing is already a good man for doing this. Senior brother, did you find what you were looking for? Wen Guanjing shakes his head. Is it really a mistake to come here? Lin Luoran wants to divert his attention, so she can only encourage him. The two of them think that if there is something that Wen Guanjing wants, they can search every corner of the mausoleum in this big stone room. They can find it at a glance. Lin starts from the left and Wen starts from the right. The mausoleum is large, but there is only a 3-foot open space against the wall. The rest of the space is filled with lotus ponds. Lin Luoran touches the smooth stone wall with her hand. She uses her spiritual mind to explore the smooth stone wall. Behind the stone wall, there is nothing unusual. Lin Luoran concentrates on scanning and soon she has explored the stone wall one by one. No. These things couldn't be more normal. Were it not for the fact that the stone wall was built at the bottom of this surging river, it would be no different from an ordinary mausoleum, not to mention things related to cultivators. Soon, the two of them finished inspecting each other and met each other halfway. Senior brother, what are you looking for? How are you going to find it? Wen Guanjing looks at the pond in silence. It is useless to hide it from Lin Luoran, so he might as well tell her. I'm looking for a spell that was lost in Zhu Mountain many years ago. It is called Introduction of Sword. If the sheepskin scroll didn't mention that it might be here, I wouldn't have come for treasures. Fortunately, it is not the time to drink water, or Lin Luoran will spit it out. What introduction of sword? Isn't it just the thing that white fairy threw to her like cabbage? God, when Guanjing dragged her to the mausoleum just for this thing and almost got killed by the female corpse. Lin Luoran feels that she is wronged. Now, she knows the spell, but she can't tell when Guanjing that she has it, otherwise, how can she explain that the spell that was lost in Zhu Mountain is in Lin Luoran's hands? Lin Luoran knows that treasures are the source of trouble. She only hopes that there is really such a spell in the underground palace so that they won't come here for nothing. However, she is not sure, so she has to tell Wen Guanjing, senior brother, is it possible that the sheepskin scroll is a trap to lure people here so that they can possess us? Lin Luoran says it casually, but she is shocked when she says it. The underground palace is built under the water. Does it mean that the female corpse has the Taoist root of the water? Also, the murals in the passage depict the scene thousands of years ago. Cultivators in the level of gathering vitality fly to the colorful circle of light. Did they really fly to the circle of light? Or is it just the most popular saying in the world of cultivation to cater to people's psychology? The murals pretend to be erased to make people think that there is an answer in the underground palace. However, if it is such an important place, why did Wen Guanjing really open the door after trying several spells of inhibition? Thinking about it now, Wen Guanjing may be able to break the inhibition by force even without spells of inhibition. This is not the priority of protecting the owner of the mausoleum. According to the traditional thought of the state of Huaxia, the dead should not be disturbed. Even the most hardcore cultivator doesn't want others to rob his tomb easily. Lin Luoran takes a deep breath. She is so lucky that she can escape from such a trap. Wen Guanjing is not stupid, but he is tempted by money. All cultivators in Zhu Mountain are sword cultivators. As the most powerful cultivator in the new generation, he knows how important the primary instruction is. For Wen Guanjing, the primary instruction is more tempting than the richest man in the world. Even Lin Luoran can figure out the trap. When Guanjing calms down and realizes that the dead woman is probably trying to trick people into coming here. He almost died in the monster's mouth in order to get the sheepskin scroll. When Guanjing is not reconciled to the fact that he almost died in the monster's mouth. Lin Luoran can see through his unwillingness. Besides, she knows the primary instruction. Lin Luoran feels a little guilty. She points at the crystal coffin and says, "Brother, although it is a trap, the primer of the trap may not be fake. Why don't we look for the crystal coffin again? If we can't find it, we can drain the lotus pond and turn it upside down." When Guanjing looks at the indignant expression on Lin Luoran's face. Looking for the coffin and draining the pond, it is clear that she wants to take revenge on the dead woman for trying to steal her body. When Guanjing has never seen Lin Luoran being so childish. He feels that Lin Luoran's childishness for not finding the primary instruction is gone. He nods and agrees to Lin Luoran's proposal. The dead woman in white lies quietly in the crystal palace. Her cheeks are rosy, and the peony on her bun is as beautiful as before. Lin Luoran comes up with a bad idea, but she is still a little scared when she sees the dead woman. When Guanjing doesn't like the way the dead woman acts. He doesn't care about the relationship between the dead woman and Zhu Mountain. He is ready to open the coffin and check inside. However, after a while, they find that there is no gap around the coffin, as if it is made of a large piece of crystal. There is no seam between the top and bottom of the coffin. How did he put the female corpse inside? Lin Luoran is shocked. How did her soul come out to steal the body? Is the crystal coffin something that can only be left but not entered? Lin Luoran is amazed by the means of cultivators. When Guanjing doesn't give up easily. He feels that there must be some inhibition or ancient mechanism outside the coffin. He squats down and checks it. Lin Luoran stands there and looks at the dead woman. She feels that the peony on her bun is so fresh that she can even see the dew on the pistol. The fine stitches on her lapel are. Brother Wen, look at the symbols. The more Lin Luoran looks at them, the more strange she feels. She calls Wen Guanjing. There are such symbols on the cuffs and skirt. When Guanjing looks at them and says to Lin Luoran, they are golden script. Illiterate Lin felt that her ears were burning. She secretly made up her mind that if she didn't learn all the rare words in China, from the oracle bone script to the women's script created by Xiangxi's lesbians to express their love, she really wouldn't have the face to go out. Swords are weapons. Gold and divine wood can be used as materials, and the fire of the earth can be cast. When Guanjing recognizes the words word by word. The first part of the book also exists in Zhu Mountain, so it is undoubtedly the primary instruction. He is so excited that he reads the primary instruction to Lin Luoran, an outsider. Lin Luoran coughs to remind Wen Guanjing. When Guanjing stops talking and takes out a jade slip, he starts to record what he has seen. Lin Luoran also has the primary instruction. There are more than 10,000 words in it. Though it is a treasure for a rookie like her, she thinks that it is only about refining weapons and the classification of flying swords and magic weapons. It doesn't talk much about the Tao of Sword. She doesn't know why Zhu Mountain values it so much. Lin Luoran doesn't understand it, but Wen Guanjing is worried. The characters are all embroidered on the cuffs and skirt of the dead woman. He can see the part on the body clearly, but the most important part is on the back of the skirt. It is pressed by the dead woman's body. Wen Guanjing is so anxious that he is sweating. Wen Guanjing is in a dilemma, but Lin Luoran is sober. Brother Wen, the coffin is transparent on all sides. If we lift the coffin, we can see the characters on the back. Lin Luoran feels that she is narrow-minded. Wen Guanjing is laughing at her for not knowing how to use golden script. However, Wen Guanjing has to thank her for bringing it up now. There is no better way than this. Wen Guanjing puts his hand on the edge of the coffin. The crystal doesn't look cold, but it turns out to be bone-chilling. He can't stand it anymore. He puts fire reiki into his hand and is about to lift up the coffin. As soon as the fire reiki touches the coffin, they hear the sound of leaves being blown by the wind. Lin Luoran feels danger. She straightens her back and turns her head boldly. Snakes. The fragrant lotus pond is full of snakes of different sizes and colors, but they are all disgusting and stinky. Not only that, the stone door, the passageway, and every corner of the underground palace that the two of them came from had no gaps left. Apart from the platform where the crystal coffin was placed, the entire underground palace was filled with all kinds of snakes that came out of nowhere. There was not even a single gap left. Even when Guanjing, a man, almost vomits when he sees the snakes rolling in the pond and remembers that he once soaked in the lotus pond for a long time, Lin Luoran's mind is in a mess. She thinks about the Pharaoh's curse, the extreme joy turns to sorrow, and the interdependence of fortune and misfortune. The problem is, how can they get out? There is one more chapter, and it will be published after midnight. After the second chapter, this volume will be over and they will return to the modern world of cultivation. Chapter 128. In the secret land where there is no starlight, the night is soft and warm. When Guanjing doesn't know how many days he has been running. He only vaguely remembers that he has never rested these days. He has even had 2 meals in the past few days and nights. However, he still persisted. This is the 3rd time that he stops to eat and rest. When Guanjing leans against a rock. His body is soaked with sweat. He hasn't had the chance to dry up because he has been running. When Guanjing was on a mission, he once lurked in the desert for several days and nights. His heart has been trained to be as firm as steel. This time, he is a little tired, but he does not exceed Wen Guanjing's limit. It is already late at night. Occasionally, there are owls howling in the depths of the forest to remind Wen Guanjing that this is a real world and he has escaped. He feels like a coward. He actually listened to Lin Luoran and escaped by himself. However, The jade slip with the primary instruction in the universal sack is more important than his life for Wen Guanjing. He knew how much Xu Shan yearned for this lost, general principles. Even if he had to die, he had to give the general principles away. Wen Guanjing takes out a bottle of water from the universal sack. His universal sack is filled with various jade boxes. Those are the spirit herbs he collected in the secret land with Chu Yiren and other school brothers. The jade boxes are used to block the loss of Reiki. Except for the clean water that is necessary for emergencies, Wen Guanjing has thrown away all his food in order to store the spirit herbs. He is experienced in surviving in the wild. With a glance, he finds several edible tubers. He can roast them with the simplest fire spell. Wen Guanjing only eats one piece and wraps up the rest. These days, he has been hoping that Lin Luoran will catch up with him, so he has been following the shortest route marked on the jade slip. However, it turns out that it is just his wishful thinking. After eating the roasted tuber with clean water, Wen Guanjing wipes his sweat and stands up straight. Taking one last look at the direction where he came from, Wen Guanjing gives up on his wishful thinking. Since Lin Luoran hasn't caught up with him for several days and his flying sword is broken, he can only walk on his feet. He can't slow down anymore, or he won't be able to reach the exit. That was the last time he looked back. In the next 2 days, Wen Guanjing lives in the open as usual and exerts his full potential. He tries to hide himself in the background of the environment and avoids conflict with monsters on the mountain. He rushes to the exit as fast as he can. When Wen Guanjing is so tired that he almost collapses, he finally sees Li Shi, and others in the distance. Li's face is bruised and Chu Yi's shoulder is bandaged. Everyone in the group, including Lin's hawk, is injured. Wen Guanjing counts the number of people in his mind. It is the same 8 people as when they parted. If he were not worried about Lin Luoran, he would laugh out loud. He didn't want to know what Li and the others had experienced on their way back. He only knew that none of them were missing. Wen Guanjing sighs. How could he not be a burden to his school brothers and sisters? Except for her, none of the cultivators from Huaxia died this time. The minister will be very happy if he knows this. People's hearts are made of flesh. The master of these school brothers will be very happy, right? Coming out of the secret land alive is already the proudest experience for the young cultivators of Huaxia. Everyone will be happy and proud for them. Li Shi, has matured a lot these days. With her strength, her school brothers no longer treat her as a playful school sister. During the days when Lin Luoran and Li Shi, were separated, Li Shi, had tasted all the joys and sorrows of life by herself. She rarely smiles like before. Only when she sees Wen Guanjing does she say coquettishly, "Brother, we found the foundation-laying bolus." Foundation-laying bolus. Wen Guanjing looks around and sees only cultivators from Huaxia. He is relieved and asks Li Shi, to go back first. Li Shi, covers her mouth to suppress her excitement. She looks up and asks, "Brother Wen, where is Sister Lin? Where is Lin Luoran? Has she been eaten by the snake?" Thinking of this possibility, Wen Guanjing is reluctant to face it. However, Li Shi, asks him directly and he has to face the question. He doesn't know how to answer, so he says stiffly, "We'll wait for her here." "Oh, is Sister Lin still behind us?" Li Shi, pouts and touches Goldie's wings. She tries to ignore Wen Guanjing's unconfident answer. "Wait. How long do we have to wait? Tonight is the last chance to go out." Li Shi, looks at the secret land surrounded by mountains, hoping that Lin Luoran will show up on a flying sword. She has blind trust in Sister Lin. Wen Guanjing is also looking into the distance. It will be great if Lin Luoran can show up. Even if she doesn't show up on time, he doesn't believe that she will die. He gave her the jade slip which can teleport her. As long as she can hide from the snake, no matter where she is, she will be able to get out of the secret land without rushing to the exit. Seeing that it is getting dark, Wen Guanjing has to pin all his hopes on this last guess. Foreign cultivators from all over the world show up at the exit one after another. They cross the light curtain and go home. When Guanjing secretly counts the number of people. Among them, the vampires, the Nihanese and the Russians have the most casualties. He wonders what happened to them. Thinking of the 2 Nihanese who were killed by Lin Luoran mercilessly, when Guanjing feels relieved. The loss of the British, the Nihanese, and the Russians means that the stalemate between the state of Huaxia and them on some issues will be broken after they get out of the secret land. Many negotiations will be in the favor of the state of Huaxia. This is another meaning of the secret land. But what about Lin Luoran, who is like Mu Guiying? When Guanjing closes his eyes and thinks back to the moment when he lifted the coffin by force. The snakes surged and the laughter of the dead woman comes out from the coffin. She is not dead. The crystal coffin floats in the air. The 2 of them run out of the underground palace desperately. The voice of the dead woman comes out clearly, "Remember, your body is mine." The snakes chase after them. Hearing this, Lin Luoran feels like seeing a ghost. When Guanjing wants her to leave first. Of course, when Guanjing doesn't want to. The snakes chase them to the shore, and more are coming from all directions. Lin Luoran grits her teeth and pushes when Guanjing away. When Guanjing throws a piece of jade that can teleport to her. He rushes into the crowd of snakes and slashes them. He tries to attract their hatred and lead a small group of snakes to another direction. The dead woman's strange laughter echoes in when Guanjing's ears. He actually refrains from looking back. If he doesn't look back, there is always hope. It is getting darker and darker. There are only 2 hours left. All kinds of monsters hiding in the secret land wake up one after another. The monster tide is coming. When Guanjing and the others are guarding the exit. They have already dealt with several groups of stupid monsters. This is just the beginning. When there is only 1 hour left, when Guanjing has to ask everyone to leave. Li Shi, is pushed out of the gate of twilight. Goldie, Chu Yi, and the others are confused. When Guanjing can't explain. There is no one on the flowery path. Only the cultivators of Huaxia are still standing there. As long as they cross the light curtain, they will not be able to enter the secret land again. Therefore, they can only wait for Sister Lin, who scared off all the cultivators with her sword, to come out as soon as possible. However, Lin Luoran still doesn't step out of the light gate even when the undersea passage will disappear if she doesn't leave. When Guanjing says that Lin Luoran may choose to teleport on the spot, but everyone still has an ominous feeling. Holding the restless Goldie in her arms, Li Shi, runs to the elevator first. Goldie's wings destroy many flowers. Li Shi, tears when she runs with Lin Luoran on her back. Sister Lin, you will come back, won't you? The one who chooses to teleport on the spot is Lin Luoran's old acquaintance, Crystal. In the wilderness, Crystal commands the bat on her shoulder to suck the blood of a single-horned crocodile. Crystal feels as if she is standing in the clouds. She is like a person who has just satisfied her drug addiction. She feels indescribably comfortable. She never knew that she likes killing so much. Ever since she caught the vampire bat sent by the Black Shadow Venerable and made a contract with it, Crystal has become even more powerful. Every time the vampire bat sucks blood, more than half of the power of the blood will be converted into Crystal's power. Crystal's strength grows every day. As expected, blood is the destiny of a vampire. Crystal is reluctant to do so. However, 1 month is up. Although she is arrogant, she knows that she is no match for a high-level monster. She has to hold the jade slip and choose to teleport. In the dazzling light, Crystal doesn't see the vampire bat. Her dull eyes turn around and then they are covered by the light again. Not everyone can bear the pain of teleportation. When Crystal appears on the platform again, she bends over and almost throws up. A woman in a kimono on the platform also chooses to teleport. She is not as neat as Crystal. Lin Luoran doesn't know how dangerous she was teleported out. Enduring the pain, Crystal glances at the people on the cruise. Seeing Dana standing on the deck elegantly, Crystal snorts. She turns to the Huaxia cultivators. They are so lucky. 9 of them have come back. However, she is the one who is missing. Crystal can't tell how she feels. Looking at the disappointed eyes of the Huaxia cultivators, she wonders if they are waiting for that person to teleport out. Seeing that the platform under her feet is dispersing, Crystal curls her lips. It's a pity that this is the last chance. The platform is gone and no one will come out. That beauty, could it be that she was dead? What a pity, Crystal sighs. She spreads her wings and flies up from the scattered platform. The vampire bat opens its eyes and greedily looks at the boundless sea under the moonlight. Chapter 129. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, not a single figure appeared on the ocean platform until the ocean platform dissipated. A person's body was so big that when the platform dissipated, a pearl that suddenly appeared on it and was washed away by the foam of the waves became less conspicuous. When Lin Luoran wakes up, she has already drifted far away from the Bermuda Sea. Thinking that no one has taken advantage of the final battle, Lin Luoran decides to put the dead woman aside for the time being. Anyway, the secret land is closed and no human cultivators are staying in it. Even if the dead woman covets the space and comes to find her, it will be 100 years later. If she wants to come out, she has to rely on possession. She has to recultivate and she is also making progress. Let's not talk about who is stronger and who is weaker. Lin Luoran never worries unnecessarily. How many days and nights are there in 100 years? Instead of living in fear, she might as well focus on self-cultivation. Worrying will never give a person the ability to solve problems. Only by persevering day after day can a person be reborn. The trip to the secret land is exhausting. Lin Luoran just wants to follow her heart. She doesn't resist and goes wherever the waves send her. In the boundless sea, there is endless water reiki to replenish her energy. Lin Luoran could have made a water dome, but she chooses to let her body be in close contact with the sea and melt herself in it. Small fish circle around her, curious about this special individual in the team. Lin Luoran is now following a group of fish, going deeper into the sea with the rise and fall of the tide. Because she was not aggressive at all, and she had slowed down her body to the same speed as the fishes, they did not reject such a huge creature like her. There were even a few lazy fishes that bit the belt of her clothes that floated along with the sea water. They simply hitched a ride with her and saved their strength. Lin Luoran occasionally grabs a starfish and pinches its soft body. The starfish curls up into a ball and then gently lets it go. Sometimes turtles rush up to catch fish and eat. Although turtles are slow on land, they are surprisingly fast in the sea. When Lin Luoran is hungry, she comes to the surface and takes out the peaches planted in the space to eat. Often, some pieces of fruit would fall, attracting a school of fish to surround her and snatch them, as if they were the most delicious bait. Mr. Lin loves fishing very much. When he goes back, he must provide some bait for him so that he can defeat those stubborn old men. On second thought, Lin wonders if this is cheating with the space. A dork can't get used to Lin's sudden appearance and disappearance, so it bites her dress. When Lin disappears again, it is still isolated from the bead space, which makes the dork cry, of course, if you can see the tears of fish in the sea. In the beginning, Lin Luoran often saw fishing boats on the sea. She didn't want these fishes, who had been with her for a while, to fall into the fishing net, so she often took them away from the course in advance. Tempted by the peaches, these fishes have long surrendered to Lin Luoran's delicious food. They don't care about their own lives anymore and follow Lin Luoran wherever she goes. Later, the seawater became colder and colder, and even the fishing boats disappeared. Gradually, Lin Luoran comes to the shallow sea. She guesses that these fishes have arrived at their destination, so she says goodbye to them and floats to the colder sea alone. At first, there are shallow ice pieces, and then the top of Lin Luoran's head gradually turns into ice. Looking up from the bottom of the sea under the ice, the crystal ice is particularly dazzling under the reflection of the sunlight. It is hazy and dreamy. When Lin Luoran breaks a piece of floating ice and comes to the surface for air, she sees a white world. This is a kingdom of ice, a world of snow. The snowstorm seems to have just stopped. When Lin Luoran sees the honest figure fishing on the floating ice, she finally knows where she is. It is a polar bear. Obviously, this can't be the Antarctic. The polar bear stares at Lin Luoran, the uninvited guest, and suspects that she is here to steal the fish. Lin Luoran laughs and dives into the ice again. She catches 2 fat fishes and throws one to the young polar bear, who may be a novice and can't catch any fish. After all, the melodramatic scene of Lin Luoran subduing a fish in her imagination doesn't happen. The polar bear eats up the fish and swaggers away, leaving its back to Lin Luoran, who has eaten a meal for it. Lin Luoran doesn't care about it at all. Instead, she climbs up from the water and prepares to have her first hot meal in so many days. She looks at all this with enjoyment. She blends herself with the fishes and the sea, drifts with the current, and even drifts all the way to the North Pole. If she hadn't embarked on the road of cultivation, a place like the North Pole would only exist in the short dozens of minutes of documentaries and in Lin Luoran's dream. This time, drifting with the sea has made up for Lin Luoran's fatigue of fighting in the secret land. In the vast and boundless sea where she can do whatever she wants, her state of mind has become broad and tolerant. She doesn't care about temporary gains and losses. She wants to be a cultivator in the world. Maybe, she can go to every corner of the earth. This sudden idea makes Lin Luoran yearn. A gust of cold wind blows, and her wet clothes stick to her body. Even with her current physique, Lin Luoran also feels a little cold. After all, she has been soaking in the sea for a long time. At that time, her state of mind was just enjoyment. Now that she is ashore, she feels the salty taste of the sea. Although it is all glaciers here, Lin Luoran still manages to cast a small spell of the nature of fire, which is just enough to burn a big hole in the ice. When the fire goes out, the water in the hole is steaming. In such a silver world of ice and snow, it looks very amiable. Soaking in a hot spring in the North Pole, if Baojia knows this, she must be shouting excitedly. Lin Luoran cuts the big stone she picked up from the bottom of the sea into a stone pot. She puts the melted ice and snow into the pot. After that, she slaughters and washes the fish and puts them into the pot. Lin Luoran flops into the water and soaks in the hot spring. In the warm water pool, Lin Luoran thinks of the 24-hour hot water supply in modern cities. In fact, she thinks of her family and friends. While soaking in the hot spring, Lin Luoran is not idle. After the training in the secret land, her control of the 5 elements of Reiki has improved a lot. Now, she can not only cast simple fire spells in the North Pole, where the fire Reiki is so thin that it is almost negligible. She can also keep heating the stone pot while soaking in the hot spring. When Lin Luoran gets up from the hot spring, her clothes are dry. The fish soup in the stone pot is milky white. Lin Luoran has a lot of spices in her space. She puts a few pieces of green onion and sprinkles a little salt, and the fish soup looks and smells good. After drinking the fish soup, Lin Luoran looks into the distance. It seems that another snowstorm is coming. Should she find a shelter, if you are alone in the ice field waiting for rescue, food is actually only a problem. The biggest danger is the snowstorm that may come at any time. The extremely low temperature at night will make you freeze to death before the rescue team arrives. It is actually very easy to survive the night when the temperature is dozens of degrees below zero in the ice field. What ordinary people do to save themselves is to dig a snow cave in the leeward snow hill area. The cave doesn't need to be too big, as long as it is big enough for you to curl up in. You also need to block the entrance of the cave with ice to protect yourself from the snowstorm at night. This kind of simple shelter has almost no technical content. The only thing you need to worry about is that when you block the entrance of the cave with ice, you must remember to leave enough space to prevent people from suffocating. Lin Luoran dug a snow cave like this instead of hiding in the bead. It is safe and warm in the bead. However, not everyone has the opportunity to enjoy the North Pole. Lin Luoran just wants to be an ordinary person at this moment. When she wakes up the next morning and pries the ice off the entrance of the cave, the snowstorm has stopped. What's more, it seems to be a rare good weather in the North Pole in winter. Thinking of winter, Lin Luoran realizes that she has stayed in the secret land for a month and drifted with the water. At this time, maybe spring has already passed in the country. After leaving the North Pole, she will go back directly. Lin Luoran makes this decision. She decides to have a good look at the North Pole and then go home directly. Maybe she can bring some North Pole gifts for everyone. Lin Luoran looks up at the towering glacier. Will there be anything special on the iceberg except the snow that has not melted for years? Lin Luoran decides to climb up and have a look. She walks on the ice field for 2 days at a speed that is a little faster than ordinary people. Then she arrives at the foot of the glacier, which looks very close but is actually quite far away. She will climb up with her bare hands and become an ordinary woman looking for gifts for her family. After climbing several times, Lin Luoran slips and rolls down after dozens of meters and is buried in the thick snow. Every time she crawled up, it was a new experience for her. It was a new enlightenment. Ordinary people can climb to the highest peak in the world with only ropes and simple tools. This is just a slightly higher glacier. Lin Luoran doesn't regard it as a scourge. After falling down for the 10th time, Lin Luoran finally realizes her childishness. She sits in the snow and laughs for a while. Lin Luoran rubs her hands and runs hard in the snow. She rushes over the place on the glacier where she falls most often. Sure enough, after passing the dangerous place, the glacier does not seem to be as steep as it looks. After jumping for a while, Lin Luoran exhales hot air and climbs up the iceberg. Even if there is only snow and ice on the top, Lin Luoran will take it down and carve it into a gift for her family. This is the first glacier she has climbed over with her bare hands. Going all the way north to the North Pole, Lin Luoran feels that even if there are more glaciers waiting for her in the future, they will not be steeper and more difficult than the one she climbed today. Chapter 130. Most people will never know what it feels like to breathe on an iceberg more than 2,000 meters above sea level. The air is thin and it is difficult to breathe. You can breathe on your hands and the back of your hands will be covered with a thin layer of ice in the blink of an eye. Although there are traces of summer, the 4 seasons of the year are not clear in the Arctic. At least on this frozen mountain, there is no feeling of summer at all. There is a gurgling sound of water. Lin Luoran stomps her feet and thinks that at least the ice will melt into a river in summer. This is the difference between summer and winter in the Arctic. In the summer, there would be moss growing on the tundra, which was why sheep and deer could survive on this piece of land. However, on this iceberg, it was a pure white world, without even a trace of a mouse. Hearing the sound of water, Lin Luoran follows the sound. In summer, the temperature rises and the ice and snow melts. Small streams of snow water slowly converge into an ice river. This is the river Lin Luoran finds. The river was so clear that one could see the bottom. At the bottom of the river, there were pebbles that had been washed clean by the water. They lay there quietly. The sunlight shone on the river, making the pebbles at the bottom of the river look lively and cute. Lin Luoran walks along the river. There is soft moss on the ground, which is said to be the favorite food of Arctic deer. It is soft and dry, very comfortable for people to step on. The more she walks, the more peaceful she becomes. The beautiful river flowing in the iceberg. If she has a camera, she will definitely take a picture of it. When Lin Luoran is sighing, she sees a flash of silver light in the river. It passes through the river under her feet in the blink of an eye. Hey, is there a fish in such cold water? With Lin Luoran's eyesight, she just sees its long body flashing by. She really can't see what it looks like. It is so fast. Lin Luoran is interested and runs after it. The little fish jumps in the river as fast as lightning. Lin Luoran speeds up her body to the limit, but she can only see the fish jumping occasionally. Lin Luoran keeps chasing after it. She goes deeper and deeper into the iceberg. Gradually, she comes to a valley. Lin Luoran is surprised by the different temperature and stops. She could not remember how long she had been walking. It seemed that she had climbed over the iceberg and arrived at a slightly shorter peak next to it. This was an ice valley in the col of the mountain. The water of the glacier all converged into the lake in the valley, and there were no other gaps. The strange fish should be hiding in the lake, right? Lin Luoran feels that it is very cold here. It is reasonable. Generally speaking, the temperature should be lower in the high altitude than in the low place. However, the snow on the high mountain has melted. Why is there still a thick layer of ice on the lake? At first, Lin Luoran thinks that it is because the air in the valley is blocked and the cold is stagnant. However, when she gets closer to the lake, she finds that the cold comes from the lake. It is not particularly cold in other places of the valley. It is a bit strange. Lin Luoran wanders around the lake. This lake is a bit strange. What is different? The ice is thick, so Lin Luoran is safe to step on it. She takes a few steps to the lake and finds that there is light smoke in the center of the lake. A figure as long as a chopstick jumps out of the lake about 3 feet high. It is the fast strange fish. Lin Luoran is so happy that she forgets that there is light smoke in the center of the lake. She jumps up and runs to the lake. In the air, she sees that the center of the lake is not frozen. A stream of hot air blows on her face. As soon as Lin Luoran's toes touch the ice, she hears a crisp sound. It turns out that the ice in the center of the lake is thinner than other places. The hot air blows on her face. It turns out that the water in the center of the lake is hot. Lin Luoran accidentally steps on the ice. It is not a big deal for her. She can jump up easily. However, at this time, the strange fish jumps out of the water and bites Lin Luoran's fingers. The fish's teeth are sharp and it even bites 2 small holes on her fingertips. Lin Luoran is so angry that she feels that half of her body is numb. As soon as she jumps up from the broken ice, half of her body is suddenly numb. She has no strength and falls into the lake. The fish that bit her is gone. Lin Luoran doesn't know whether to laugh or cry in the water. She used to say that it is rare to have a hot spring at the North Pole. Isn't the water in the center of the lake hot? Of course, if she is not numb and powerless now, she will really enjoy it. Lin Luoran's body is weak. She manages to hold up a water dome and then she sinks into the lake. Lin Luoran doesn't know what kind of strange fish it is. With one bite, Lin Luoran, who is barely a cultivator, feels numb all over. She has just held up a water dome to protect herself, but now she can't even cast a spell. She sinks to the bottom of the lake like a stone. Lin Luoran secretly curses the silver fish for several times. She tries her best to keep her eyes open and watch herself sink deeper and deeper. Through the water shield, she can feel that the temperature is getting higher and higher. At first, the hot spring is about to boil. Lin Luoran feels that her eyelids are so heavy that she can't keep them open. She closes her eyes unconsciously. The best thought is that the water is getting hotter and hotter. Will she end up like the fish soup that she ate when she first came to the shore? Lin Luoran dreams that she is lying on a rocking chair in the backyard of the Lin's house. She is drowsy and little Luodong runs to her with a smile. He bumps into her arms. Lin Luoran shivers and then she wakes up. However, the reality is that Lin Luoran wakes up from her dream and finds herself still lying in the water dome. It is not little Luodong who jumps into her arms. It is the stinky fish that bit her and is playing with the water dome outside. Although it is small, it bites hard and hits the water dome with great strength. Lin feels that her hands and feet are full of strength again. She makes a face at it in the water dome. It scares away the strange fish with a pair of round eyes whose back is silver but its body is actually transparent. Lin Luoran starts to look around. First of all, she is at the bottom of the lake. She can see the shimmer of the lake when she looks up. Maybe it is already dark now. Lin Luoran doesn't feel hungry. It seems that only half a day has passed since she fell asleep. The strange fish has already run away. Lin Luoran can't take revenge on it even if she wants to. Besides, she is just curious. Reiki is running normally inside her body. Lin Luoran can only comfort herself that it is a blessing to suffer a little loss. She has seen the strange fish that can play in the ice water and swim freely in the boiling water. Lin Luoran decides to tell her father and others about it so that her climbing the iceberg will be worthwhile. Lin Luoran is optimistic. She is about to go up from the bottom of the boiling lake. Night comes quickly in the North Pole. There is no light on the surface of the lake, let alone the bottom of the lake. In the darkness, Lin Luoran finds that there is a faint blue light under her water dome. Lin Luoran takes a closer look and finds that it is a grass that is swaying with the water. The grass has 5 long and narrow leaves of different lengths. It seems that the grass is doing well in the boiling water. Lin Luoran touches its shining blue leaves through the water dome. Her fingers are almost frozen. It is boiling water here. Why is the grass so cold? Lin Luoran is surprised. She uses her clear sight to look at the grass. She covers her mouth and pinches her thigh. It hurts so much. This is not a dream. Chapter 131. Lin Luoran touches the leaves of the ice grass carefully through the water dome. Nothing unusual happens except the biting coldness. Lin Luoran's heart is pounding. Even if something is wrong, she must have this grass. Lin Luoran has only seen this kind of pure Reiki once, even when she just came out of the secret land and embarked on the path of cultivation, the small treat that helped her cleanse her marrows and tendons. Lin Luoran still remembers the unbearable heat of the red fruit after she swallowed it. She has never seen such a magical small tree again even though she has collected countless spirit herbs and elixirs in the secret land. Lin Luoran suspects that the small tree is the real treasure of nature. Bone-chilling ice spirit grass actually grew in boiling water. Was it only in such a contradictory environment that such a treasure of heaven and earth could grow? Lin Luoran carefully picks up the small stones under the ice grass, trying to transplant it out of the water without hurting its roots. As soon as she puts her hand on the roots, the silver fish comes out of nowhere and attacks Lin Luoran angrily. Lin Luoran hides in the water dome. There is abundant water Reiki around. The water dome feeds water with water, so she is not afraid of the risk of collapse. The silver fish is so angry. If it had feet, it would really jump up and down. Lin Luoran feels the pleasure of revenge. Treasures of nature must be guarded by strange beasts. Is this silver fish the guardian beast? That's so lame. Lin Luoran carefully pulls out the ice grass and pushes the angry fish aside. The water temperature here is too high. If the ice grass doesn't adapt to the temperature and dies, it will be heart-wrenching. At this moment, the only thing Lin Luoran can hope to do is to plant something and grow it to live in the space. She flashed into the space with the ice grass and picked up a few small stones that were originally at the root of the ice grass. There is only water in the small pond in the space. Lin Luoran plants the ice grass beside the shallow pond and circles its roots with small stones. The leaves are still beautiful. It seems that when in Rome, do as the Romans do. She heaved a sigh of relief. The temperature of the pond water hadn't changed yet, so she didn't have to worry about those elixirs freezing to death when she watered them in the future. However, this ice grass was really strange. It seemed that the only thing that was cold was itself. It was the same in the boiling water, and it was the same in the spirit pool. Lin Luoran puts her hand into the pond to feel the temperature. The abundant water Reiki refreshes the spirit herbs in the space. Lin Luoran can't help but recall the feeling of swimming in the sea and blending in with the water. Different from the naughtiness of fire Reiki, water Reiki is still the mildest kind of Reiki on the earth where the temperament of Reiki has changed. No matter how eccentric it was, at most it would freeze anyone who dared to touch it. Normally, it was gentle and harmless. It doesn't have a small tail. Unlike fire Reiki molecules that run around like Halley's Comet, it is like a quiet raindrop, gentle and elegant. Even when it moves, it is beautiful. Lin Luoran's thoughts wander like water. It turns out that she has gained more than she imagined during this period of drifting on the sea. She swam with fishes, turned ice into water, dug a hole in the snow for the night, walked in a snowstorm, and climbed an iceberg more than 2,000 meters above sea level with her bare hands. These experiences were all different, but they all led to the same goal. She has never understood the nature of water as much as she does at this moment. Ice is water, frost is water. Water is ever-changing, but it is always the same. Lin Luoran is actually by the spring in the space. She forgot that she is still at the bottom of the lake and unconsciously meditated. She is so meditated that she can't wake up even if there is thunder. However, the bead is still at the bottom of the lake. Lin Luoran has completely forgotten about this at the moment, but she doesn't forget about the silver fish whose spirit herb she robbed. In the blink of an eye, the abominable creature disappears with the thing it guarded. Only a round thing is left between the stones, stained with her breath. The silver fish is not as weak as Lin Luoran thought. It is a magical species. Every 1,000 years, before it evolves, it will grow smaller and smaller. Not only will it return to its youth, but its talent will also disappear. Only the characteristics of the species and some means of self-protection will be left. However, after 1,000 years, the silver fish will not only get the inheritance of the species, but also shed its skin and transform. It will stand on the top of the ferocious beasts again. Lin Luoran is lucky that it happens to be at its weakest period. Otherwise, it will be much more difficult for her to get the ice grass than to escape from the dead woman. The silver fish is muddle-headed and its mind is not clear. It only knows that the ice grass is very important to it, but it doesn't remember that it has been guarding it for 1,000 years. It is stolen by Lin Luoran, and there is only a bead left. The silver fish rolls in the sand, stirring up the water in the lake. It has nowhere to vent its anger, so it opens its mouth and swallows the bead. In fact, the silver fish is born with the ice grass. At this moment, its mind is muddled, and it has no idea that losing the spirit herb is a fatal blow to it. It just feels that the hot lake water is becoming unbearable. It can't stay at the bottom of the lake anymore, and the bead in its belly makes it uncomfortable. It decides to play for a while to digest. The silver fish jumps up and swims to the surface of the lake. It only takes a few seconds. The temperature in the middle of the lake makes it uncomfortable. The silver fish swims upstream along the ice river and soon disappears in the ice river. The silverlight fish felt its stomach becoming more and more uncomfortable. It swam across the ice mountain stream, but hitting the pebbles did not help. Unknowingly, the silverlight fish swam further and further away from the ice river that it remembered to never leave. The glacial river flowed into the sea, and the small silver fish was like a dragon entering the sea. It was indescribably happy and comfortable, and the discomfort in its stomach was forgotten for a moment. Fish were the fattest in summer, and the small silver fish instinctively rushed towards the small fish among the corals. Its bite can even knock out a cultivator in the level of training chi, not to mention these ordinary sea fish. The silver fish shivers. Its belly is too full, and the bead is no longer uncomfortable. Lying among the rocks, it feels so comfortable that it wants to sleep. It turns out that there is so much food here. It thought it was such a waste to only bring the food to the lake where it is difficult to catch a fish. The silver fish burps, completely forgetting the warning from the depths of its mind. The sea is too dangerous for it now. A seal has been staring at the direction of the silver fish for a long time with its small eyes. Maybe the seal wants to change its taste today, so it is very interested in the silver fish. Before, the silver fish was too fast, so the seal could only stare at it. Now, the silver fish has eaten too much and its digestion is weak. The seal, which has been preparing for a long time, instantly attacks. The silver fish only felt the light suddenly dim, and it was bitten on the head by the seal. After smacking its mouth a few times, the seal swallowed the silver fish that had a rather powerful origin. The silver fish is as fast as lightning, but because of its gluttony, it can't use it at all. Because of its carelessness, the silver fish has no time to attack the poison that can make people faint. God's arrangement is always so strange. The female corpse in white will never expect that she will be defeated by a little cultivator in the level of training chi. The silver fish, which grows with ice grass, will never expect that it will end up in the stomach of an ordinary seal. Once 1,000 years, the seal can transform into a human form and become a powerful monster. If it can't, it will die. There are gains and there are losses. It is just like the path of cultivation. It is said that at the end of cultivation, one will become an immortal. However, the path of cultivation is not something that you can come and go as you wish. The seal doesn't know anything about the Tao of nature. It eats the silver fish as it wishes. After savoring the taste for a while, it clumsily climbs to the ice to take a breath and bask in the sun as usual. Every time the spring sun begins to shine on the land after a long cold night, and the days become longer and longer, the seals will climb out of the ice to bask in the sun. They lie next to their breathing holes and hide behind the dug ice debris, vigilantly watching their surroundings. This is the best season to hunt seals, but the seals have no other choice. The temperature of the sea made of ice and snow is unbearably low. If they don't bask in the sun after catching fish, the seals will freeze to death. The seal climbs on the ice and looks around every once in a while. It finds the ice is quiet, so it lowers its head and lies down to enjoy the sun. When the seal looks up and lowers its head, its poor eyesight makes it ignore the white canvas moving not far away. A head wearing a big white hat flashes. Seeing the movement of the seal, the head stays still and continues to lurk. The white canvas looks like a pile of ice and snow from afar, but it moves slowly when the seal is not paying attention. The Eskimos, the people living in the coldest area of the earth, always know how to hunt and kill a seal basking in the sun on the ice. The seal falls asleep with the sacred bead lying quietly in its stomach. The white canvas moves again. Chapter 132. On a sled pulled by dogs, an excellent Eskimo hunter controls the direction and moves freely on the snowy ground. On the sled, there is not only a bearded hunter with a white fur hat, but also a dead seal. Several fish of different sizes are strung on the fishing line, swaying as the sled moves forward. After climbing over a few snowy hills, the hunter sees an ice house. He pulls the reins, and the sled slides on the ground for a few meters before it finally stops. The hunter wears thick gloves. He rubs the ice off his beard and drags the seal down from the sled. An adult seal can weigh up to 180 kilograms, and this half-grown seal weighs more than 100 kilograms. Without the help of the sled, even if the hunter succeeds in killing it, it would be difficult for him to bring the prey back from the ice and snow. The hunter lifts the thick blanket of the ice house, and a 10-year-old Eskimo girl stands up. "Dad, did you catch a seal today?" The hunter puts down the seal. Seeing his daughter's happy face, he can't help but rub her hair. The winter of food shortage is over, and his daughter will not starve. How can he not be happy? Tess runs out to hug the dog pulling the sled, and comes back with the string of fish. There is too much food for her to eat in a short time, so she buries it under the snow to keep it fresh and clean. Although Tess is only 10 years old, she is already a good helper at home. She cleans up the seal with her father very quickly. Dad, look. When Tess is washing and peeling the seal, she finds a bead with blood on its belly. She wipes it on the ground with the snow and finds that it is a round, shiny pearl. She shows it to the hunter happily. The hunter takes it and looks at it for a while. Such a pearl is really rare in the Arctic. He doesn't know what the seal ate. Seeing that Tess likes it, he gives it to her to play with. The hunter feeds the seal's innards to the dog, and then comes back to eat the seal meat with his daughter. There is no place to light a fire in the ice and snow, so the Eskimos have always lived on raw meat. Recently, with the progress of society, people rarely live in igloos and eat raw meat, except in the extreme north. The hunter and his daughter are one of the few who insist on eating raw meat. After the seal meat, Tess lay on the felt and played with her beads. There were many Eskimos in the area. They were helping each other. The hunters had given most of the seal meat to their neighbors. Tess is alone in the igloo, tossing the beads up and down. The Eskimos migrated from Asia 10,000 years ago. They were short, yellow-skinned, and black-haired, typical Mongolian. Tess looked like a Chinese girl. When the huntsman returned, he saw that Tess was still playing with the bead. He was glad to see that his daughter liked it. Tess's mother died during childbirth. For so many years, he raised Tess with goat's milk and relied on his hunting skills to keep her from worrying about food. However, he really did not know how to play with a teenage girl. Even his sled dog was better at making the little girl happy than him. In the polar circle of the North Pole, there was no night in summer. It was the transition between winter and summer, and the night came late with snowstorms. Because they lived in an igloo, they couldn't light a fire at night. Otherwise, the igloo would melt. The hunter put a thick bearskin blanket on Tess. He was so tired from hunting during the day that he soon fell asleep at the other end of the igloo. Tess didn't know why, but she couldn't fall asleep even though she was full tonight. Tess held the bead taken from the seal's belly in her hand. In the cold night, the bead seemed to be warm and she didn't want to let it go. Tess had heard several fairy tales. The bead was strange. She always felt that there was a fairy in it. Of course, the little girl kept her eyes open until midnight. She was too sleepy to fall asleep, but the so-called fairy didn't come out of the bead. However, the water reiki around the bead fluctuated strongly, so the little girl couldn't put it down. The next day was a sunny day. After eating the seal meat, the hunter went to discuss something with his neighbor early in the morning. Tess played with the sled dog at home. The water reiki around the bead was getting stronger and stronger. The affinity of water made her reluctant to put it down. The hunter didn't come back until lunchtime. It turned out that they had accumulated a lot of seal skins over the winter. They didn't want to be cheated by the fur traders who traveled among the Eskimo tribes, so they decided to sell them in the town themselves. They had to go out for a few days and asked Tess to stay at home at night. Tess answered absent-mindedly, but her mind was on the bead. The hunter told his daughter to move out all the seal skins they had accumulated over the winter. They filled the sleigh with food and set off. Tess was very active, so she stayed in the igloo for the first 2 days. However, no one talked to her in the ice and snow. Even the sled dog had left with her. Tess was just a teenage girl. At night, she couldn't fall asleep when she heard the sound of snow hitting on the door blanket. Hearing a whimper near the igloo, Tess was scared and curious. She got up from the blanket and quietly lifted it. There was a row of neat footprints in front of the igloo, which were not completely covered by the wind and snow. Could it be that father had returned? Every time her father came back from the town, he always brought her a lot of shiny candies. Thinking of the smell, Tess forgot the whimper and thought that her father was in the neighbor's house not far away. She put on a fur coat and ran out along the footprints. The little girl closed her eyes because of the wind and snow. She couldn't tell the way, so she lowered her head and followed the footprints. She didn't realize that this was not the way to the neighbor's house. Tess didn't know how long she had been walking. She only felt that her legs were getting stiffer and heavier, and her body was frozen. Looking up, Tess finally realized that she was lost. Getting lost in the snow on such a snowy night could kill someone. Little Tess finally remembered that her father told her not to go out at night. Her mouth was blue with cold and it took her a long time to hold back her tears. Just then, little Tess heard something in front of her. She tried to open her eyes and saw a strong figure a few meters away. Was it her father? Little Tess ran 2 steps and saw the figure clearly. She covered her mouth tightly. It was not her father, but a polar bear with some meat in its hand. The red rope on the meat was tied by Tess herself. It turned out that it was not her father who came back. It was the polar bear who was stealing the seals and fish that Tess buried in the snow outside the igloo. The polar bear also smelled the smell of a human. They were the least picky animals. When they could not catch fish in summer, they would rely on carrion to survive the Arctic summer. Of course, they would also eat people, especially children like Tess who could not attack. The polar bear dropped the meat in its hand and rushed to Tess. Tess turned around and stumbled 2 steps. She fell to the ground, and the bead in her hand fell out. Tess couldn't see where it fell in the dark. Her feet were stuck in the snow. 10-year-old Tess was so scared that she even forgot to cry. The polar bear's paw was getting bigger and bigger in her eyes. Tess curled up into a ball, calling her father and shivering. Just then, a beam of dazzling light burst in the direction where the bead fell. The polar bear seemed to notice something and stepped back in fear. Tess opened her eyes wide and watched the bead she had been playing with for days. It shone brightly and gradually floated in the air. In the blink of an eye, a woman in a dress suddenly appeared at the place where the bead shone. Against the light, Tess couldn't see the woman's face clearly. The glowing bead on her wrist was like a small sun, lighting up the Arctic night. Wearing such a thin and beautiful dress, the woman suddenly appeared. Was she a fairy who came to save her? 10-year-old Tess stared at the fairy who was walking towards her, and tears of fear rolled down her cheeks in hindsight. Chapter 133. Fairy, are you here to save Tess? In the dark of the snowland, Tess's eyes have just been washed by tears. They are as clean as crystals. She raises her little face and asks Lin Luoran who is walking over. Lin Luoran has just woken up from the tranquility and is ejected from the space. She is still thinking about the strange action of the space when she finds herself in the snow. Except for the light from the bead, there is nothing else but darkness. A few steps away from her, there is a frightened polar bear and a little girl who is crying and shouting something in a language she doesn't understand. Lin Luoran certainly can't understand the language of the Eskimos, or she will be a fairy. However, Lin Luoran can understand the fear and hope in the little girl's eyes. Thinking of the polar bear which seems to be scared away by her breath, Lin Luoran has a general idea of what happened before. Lin Luoran secretly sighs. She wants to step forward to comfort the little girl, but before she moves, she activates the water Reiki everywhere on the ice land. Reiki of the 5 elements fill every corner of the world. Only cultivators with the Taoist root can feel them. Ordinary people can't even find a stepping stone in a treasure house. Why is it said that cultivators with single Taoist root are geniuses in cultivation? In fact, each cultivator's sensitivity to the Reiki of the world can be regarded as 10 points. Cultivators with single Taoist root will naturally have a sensitivity of 10, but cultivators with double Taoist root will have a different ratio. If they are lucky and have a ratio of 1:9, cultivators with single Taoist root will only be slightly weaker than cultivators with single Taoist root. In this way, cultivators with 3 Taoist root will be much weaker than cultivators with 4 Taoist root, not to mention cultivators with 4 Taoist root. As for cultivators with 5 Taoist root, they are basically useless. Maybe some people say that diligence makes up for stupidity. Even if cultivators with weak sensitivity choose to cultivate with a higher ratio of Taoist root, their Taoist root may not be weaker than cultivators with single or double Taoist root. However, the path of cultivation was originally against the natural order. If it were so easy, the cultivation world would not use the Taoist foundation to determine a person's future, and use the Taoist foundation to determine a person's importance and status in a sect. If you had 70% water element, 10% wood element, 10% earth element, and 10% metal element, and you wanted to stand out by relying on the water element and give up the cultivation of the other three elements, it would only cause the spiritual qi in your body to become chaotic, and you would destroy your own cultivation. In other words, when a cultivator with multiple natures breathed and cultivated, the proportion of Reiki he refined must be in line with the proportion of his Taoist root. This meticulous and thankless work not only had many requirements on the place of cultivation, but it was also several times more difficult to cultivate than the geniuses with single or double natures. The lifespan of a cultivator in each realm was fixed. Except for those who had great luck, those with less than double natures would be burdened by their own bodies. With the same cultivation, they would have to cultivate longer, and they would have to worry about the balance of the natures of their Taoist root from time to time. How could they compete with the geniuses who had a smooth journey? Lin Luoran doesn't know anything about the common sense of the world of cultivation. She can feel it whenever she wants. Because of her peaceful state of mind, she often goes into tranquility. If other cultivators knew about this, they would be envious, jealous, and even have a dark mind. For example, she has just woken up from tranquility a moment ago, so her perception of water has never been so clear. She can even affect the water Reiki on the ice field when she moves. This is a special case where her perception of the water Reiki is strengthened to the extreme. Lin Luoran doesn't know about the balance of natures when absorbing Reiki. Except for the fire Reiki in her body, she has never had any problems. No one has ever told her about this, so it is impossible for her to know. Water Reiki swarms in. The bead is so happy that it tries its best to absorb it. Half of the Reiki is absorbed by the newly planted grass in the spring, the other 20% is given to the plants in the space, and the remaining 30% is transformed by the bead into peaceful water Reiki and sent to Lin's body. Water Reiki flows up along Lin Luoran's right hand, nourishing her meridians, bones, and muscles. As the water Reiki keeps pouring in, Lin Luoran calms down. She recalls the feeling when she was meditating. Her mind is clear. At this moment, she is water, she is ice, and she is the snowflakes falling from the sky. There seems to be a slight sound of something clicking. Lin Luoran finally opens the door of water Reiki in the 5 elements at the right moment. Although the Earth's Reiki is thin, Reiki within 100 miles swarm in. Even if the bead collects the service fee, Lin Luoran can still get unimaginable benefits. The chaotic Reiki in Lin Luoran's body is full of water Reiki. The moment she transforms into water, the chaotic Reiki in Lin Luoran's body seems to be summoned. A stream of blue Reiki separates from the chaotic Reiki. After the fire Reiki becomes independent, the water Reiki in Lin Luoran's body also has its own meridians. Lin Luoran is so focused on checking her body that she doesn't notice that as soon as the water Reiki in her body is generated, the ice grass in the space grows 2 more leaves because it has absorbed the effect of the spring and the water Reiki. Lin Luoran can also see a small bulge in the center of the leaf. Is it a bud? After the water Reiki in Lin Luoran's body is transferred to her own meridians, a blue light suddenly flashes above the cabin. It is so fast that Lin Luoran can't find it even though she is in the space. Only the fire phoenix, which she has never seen before, makes a happy cry, as if it is welcoming its new partner. Lin Luoran's personal ability is changing quietly under the continuous input of water Reiki. It seems that it is not bad. When she opens her eyes again, she feels that her eyelashes are heavy and stiff. Everything in front of her is white. She is not too hungry. It seems that she has just cultivated for one night. Last night, if she didn't transfer the water Reiki to her meridians immediately, she would have been captured by the swarming water Reiki. Fortunately, the process is well controlled, so it is not dangerous and the result is quite gratifying. Lin Luoran notices the changes in her body as soon as she opens her eyes. Her blood is more vigorous and her Reiki is more condensed. The reason why the first step of cultivation is called training Qi is to train Qi into the body. At this moment, there is no extra space in her meridians and her body is light and healthy. Lin Luoran knows intuitively that after last night, she has entered the real completion of training Qi. Not long ago, Master Mu said that she could enter the level of laying foundation in 15 years. Master Gua also said that he bet that she could enter the level of laying foundation in 10 years. At that time, Lin Luoran felt that with the help of the space, she might be able to think faster than they said. However, she didn't expect that it would be so fast. The trip to the secret land has tempered her mind and personal ability. The drifting trip has repaired the deficiency of her Taoist heart. With the formula of foundation laying bolus in hand, Lin Luoran's personal ability has kept up and her state of mind is needless to say. As long as she can make foundation laying bolus, Lin Luoran is sure that she can enter the level of laying foundation in 1 or 2 years. Compared with Wen Guanjing and others, Lin Luoran has wasted many years of her life. Besides, she can't tell others about her Taoist route, which makes Lin Luoran worry a lot. Until now, Lin Luoran's previous uncertainty has finally disappeared. Cultivation had always been a path that defied the heavens. Hard work, coupled with the heavens' favor, allowed older women to cultivate in the city. In the pure white snow, Lin Luoran is like a snow doll wrapped in the wind and snow overnight. With the help of the water Reiki and the improvement of her personal ability, the negative emotions that she was prone to before have disappeared a lot. Her temperament has also changed dramatically. Lin Luoran is no longer a sharp sword. She is like a lake, calm and amiable on the surface. However, at the bottom of the lake, she has the ability to overturn ships. Thank you, everyone, for your support and support. The tragedy of Dianbai has finally been resolved with the help of others. Although the chapter that should have been updated last night was nowhere to be found, it was still better than being completely wiped out. Chapter 134. The first thing that comes to Lin Luoran's mind is the foreign girl from last night when she calms down from the excitement of improving her personal ability. After being frozen for a whole night, he was fine, but how could such a small person endure it? Lin Luoran shakes off the snow on her body and feels worried. She sees the little girl sleeping soundly by her feet. Her face is ruddy and her breathing is normal. It seems that she is not frostbitten. Lin Luoran thinks for a while and suspects that the little girl is too close to her. When the water Reiki fluctuated last night, the little girl was blessed and slept peacefully on the snowfield. How lucky! Lin Luoran wants to wake the little girl up. However, she doesn't know how long the little girl has been lost on the snowfield. Lin Luoran decides to go and make some preparations first. She was merciless when she killed her enemies, but because of her personality, she could not leave an innocent person to die. If she left such a young child alone on the snowfield, it would be no different from killing her with her own hands. Lin Luoran quickly climbs over the snow hill and disappears in the ice and snow. Tess feels that she has a very good sleep. She had a very interesting dream. She dreamed that she was lost in the middle of the night and met a fierce polar bear that was stealing the meat of her seal. Just as the polar bear was about to pounce on her, a fairy in a dress came out of the pearl that she had loved so much for the past few days. She easily scared the bear away and came to protect her. Thinking of this, Tess smiles even when she is half asleep. Her eyelashes flutter and she opens her eyes. Today is another sunny day. Father will be back soon, right? If she tells her friends in the tribe about her dream last night, will they believe it? Tess thinks of the children who often laugh at her for not having a mother. She thinks angrily that she will not tell them such a funny dream. But that fairy looks so beautiful. In the bitter cold of the Arctic, people have to wear thick clothes all year round. Tess has never seen any woman in the tribe wearing a dress. However, she knows what beauty is. Her father accidentally brings back a thick album from the small town. There are many women in the album called stars by her father. They have delicate skin and wear all kinds of dresses that expose their breasts and legs. Tess always wonders if they are not cold. But at the same time, in her eyes, those women in skirts were really beautiful. But none of them are as beautiful as my guardian fairy. Little Tess clenches her fists to dispel the sadness of not daring to look at the fairy's face in her dream last night. However, she finds that the bead in her hand is gone. Tess looks for it in a panic, only to find that it is not felt but cold snow under her body. He had actually slept in the snow last night. Was everything that happened last night real? Was it not a dream? Tess stands up and looks around. Not far away, there is a half-buried seal meat on the snow. This is not her igloo either. But she doesn't see the fairy in the snowy hills. Tess sat down, hugging her knees, and buried her head in them. Although she is precocious, she is only 10 years old after all. Thinking that she escaped from the polar bear last night, Tess is more afraid than happy. Her father has gone to the town. No one in the tribe will find out that she is missing. When her father comes back and brings people to find her, will she be like little Stone who went missing last year because of playing? When they find her, only half of her body is left. Thinking of how ugly she will become, Tess feels nauseous and almost vomits. Because of too many thoughts, the little girl doesn't want to eat the delicious seal meat. She is cold and hungry, and she cries. She is wiping her tears when she suddenly smells something very fragrant. Little Tess couldn't help but raise her head. A figure in a long dress is walking towards her from the snow-covered hill. She is walking elegantly and nobly. The fragrance that Tess smelled comes from the stone pot in her hand. In this ordinary morning in the Arctic, this scene is deliberately imprinted in Tess's mind. If Tess had more words, she would know that the woman walking towards her is calm and indifferent, as if she is not walking in the cold Arctic, but in a courtyard in the south of the Yangtze River. Her skin is so white, as clear and transparent as the melting snow on the glacier in summer. Her hair is so black, and it looks like the glossy fur of a seal against the white background. Her dress is wrapped from her neck to her toes. Although her breasts and legs are not exposed, Tess feels that she is more beautiful than all the stars in the album combined. More importantly, she is Lin's guardian fairy. Because of the language barrier, Lin just smiles and puts the stone pot in front of the little girl who has woken up, telling her to eat. After waiting for a while, Lin Luoran looks at the stone pot in astonishment. The fish soup is milky white, with some tomatoes from her space and some green onions. The color and aroma of the soup are perfect. Why doesn't she eat it? Lin Luoran doesn't know what to say. Lin pushes the stone pot to little Tess. In fact, Tess is still immersed in the fact that the fairy is here all the time. She has no idea that she can eat the fish soup that smells so good. The Eskimos ate raw food because there was no place to start a fire in the cold Arctic. However, just like the Huaxia people occasionally ate sashimi and salads, they would not reject cooked food if they had a choice. Tess drinks up half of the pot of fish soup. If Lin Luoran doesn't doubt that the little girl hasn't eaten for days, Tess would even lick the bottom of the pot. Lin Luoran tries to touch the little girl's head, trying to give her some comfort. This kind gesture doesn't need to be explained in words. There is no boundary. Little Tess's eyes turn red and she almost cries again. Seeing that Tess can understand, Lin Luoran is overjoyed. She asks Tess for information about her family with gestures. Tess is puzzled for a long time. She can only draw an ice house with a dome. She can't tell which direction it is and what the features around it are. In fact, Tess is not to be blamed. The traditional Eskimos migrate with the seasons. Tess has been changing houses every year since she was a child. How can she remember the snowy land and the ice field? Lin Luoran sighs and holds her up. Tess feels that the fairy smells nice. She assumes that this is the smell of fairies. She buries her little head in Lin Luoran's arms unconsciously, as if she wants to remember this smell forever. The fairy, in Lin Luoran's eyes, frowns. It seems that the completion of the level of training Qi is not good enough. Lin Luoran sighs. What she needs most right now is not a brilliant spell or a powerful sword spell, but an ordinary GPS system. Lin Luoran soon puts these worries aside. At most, she will stay in the Arctic for 2 more days until she finds the little girl's family. Then she will go home. North, south, east, west, and north. Where is the little girl's family? Chapter 135. Little Tess is eating a peach in her hand. She almost buries her face in the peach. What she has eaten these days: roasted seal meat, boiled fish soup, stir-fried meat with chives, delicious peaches. Little Tess feels that she has eaten so many delicious foods that she will never be able to eat again in the rest of her life in the past 2 days. She wondered if she would be able to adapt to the life of eating raw food every day when she returned home. The more time she spends with Tess, the more Tess believes that she has met a fairy. If she is not a fairy, how can she not be afraid of the cold? How can she make a fire without fuel? How can she make all kinds of food that Tess has never seen? Tess puts a peach in her hat and plans to take it back to her father secretly. Lin Luoran notices what Tess is doing, but she is not in the mood to care. She has been walking in the wrong direction these days. She has been looking around for a while, but she doesn't see anyone. Actually, if she thinks about it carefully, how can a little girl travel on the ice land alone? Her home should be nearby. Lin Luoran's previous search area is too large, which is self-defeating. Lin Luoran walks back to the place where she met Tess for the first time. The wind and snow have covered up the traces, but they have been together for 2 days. Tess is really smart and sensible. She knows that the fairy may not understand her language, so she picks up the mosses on the ice land and repeats a word to herself. Lin Luoran learns the word and knows the meaning of the word. It may be a plant like mosses, which refers to the little girl's name. Tess is smart. Every time Lin Luoran makes food, she will fight to wash the fish and meat. Her hands are red from the cold, but she smiles brightly. Lin Luoran and Tess have a good time these days. If Tess has no family, Lin Luoran can take her home to accompany Luodong. Lin Luoran listens to the sound not far away. She feels that she is like a strange aunt who kidnaps and sells children. However, little Tess has a family. Lin Luoran is a little upset about this, but soon she feels happy for Tess. Lin Luoran thinks that it is fate for them to meet in the ice land and spend 2 days together. She casts a spell with her right hand and a mass of pure water Reiki goes into little Tess's head. Will little Tess become smarter with the nourishment of Reiki? Perhaps he could only wait for the test of time, but there was no harm in doing so. In a hurry, Lin Luoran looks all over her body but finds no souvenirs. She bought several ancient jade plates from Panjiayuan in order to study the protective jade plates. Later, she copied the magic circles on the jade plates. In order to enter the secret land to practice spells, she has no time to test them. Lin Luoran takes one out, thinks for a while, and casts a spell of the nature of gold. Gold is the sharpest among the 5 elements. On the ice land, the gold element is very thin. After walking on the snow field for 2 days, she is lucky enough to find a place with people. Lin Luoran eavesdrops for a while. Coincidentally, the family she chooses has just moved from the United States and they are not used to the climate here. The hostess complains to the man and then Lin Luoran knows that this is Norway. She was wearing a dress, but she couldn't show her face in public. She could only steal one of the hostess's down jackets and leave a few big red peaches as money for the clothes. She came and went quietly, and no one knew when she left. Lin Luoran smiles when she sees the down jacket, which is obviously 2 circles too big. She follows the bus of the town and goes to the nearby city. Then she exchanges some US dollars and buys suitable clothes and shoes. She also buys a cap with a large brim and a pair of sunglasses which can cover half of her face. Lin Luoran is very satisfied with her dress. She is not trying to be cool. It is just that she went to Hawaii in a normal way. Her passport doesn't say that she will come to Norway. If she goes back on her sword, she may be photographed by a tourist on a plane tomorrow. Lin Luoran doesn't want to be on the world page. There are also rules between the world of cultivation and the ordinary world. It is the exchange condition for the government to support cultivators not to expose her identity and cause trouble to the government. Lin Luoran wanders around the city. She goes wherever it is said to be dark. It takes her 2 days to find the local gangsters in every city and ask them to make a fake passport. These people who dare to make fake passports are all dirty. Seeing that Lin Luoran is alone and half of her face is so beautiful, they are very dishonest. They ask Lin Luoran to act like Popeye and break the steel bar of a baby's arm with her bare hands. These local gangsters are so scared that they don't dare to be presumptuous anymore. That night, they send the things to the hotel where Lin Luoran lives. They don't even want to pay the other half of the money. They give the leather bag to the front desk of the hotel and run away tremblingly. Lin Luoran takes the fake passport and looks it up and down. It is no different from her real one. It is true that money talks. On some occasions, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is true. After successfully booking a ticket back home, Lin Luoran pats her head. Why didn't she contact home first? She has been delayed for so long. Her family must be worried about her. Well, anyway, it is only 2 days. It is good to surprise Mr. and Mrs. Lin. Of course, it is impossible to go back empty-handed. Speaking of Norway's specialties, Baojia has always loved salmon. If she doesn't bring more back, she will feel sorry for coming here. As for the local goat cheese, it is said that even the French, who are proud of cheese, love it. Of course, Baojia will buy more. Anyway, there is still a lot of space in the space. She will make the best use of this natural fresh-keeping cabinet. It has been 2 days when Lin Luoran gets off the plane to Rome City after many twists and turns. Sure enough, it is early summer. The girls in our city who have been wrapped up for a whole winter have begun to put on this year's new high-heeled shoes and skirts. Such beautiful scenery can be seen everywhere outside the airport. Lin Luoran takes a breath of the air of her hometown. Although it is not as fresh as the unpolluted air in the North Pole, as the saying goes, the moon is the light of home. She finds a taxi and goes straight to the foot of Mount Qingcheng. I have to go to the class reunion these 2 days. I don't update much, so I try to make up for it. Chapter 136. The back of Mount Qingcheng is a sparsely populated place. Real estate companies have developed many single-family villas along the mountain. These buildings built in the beautiful Mount Qingcheng have the same price as the class they represent. Speaking of which, Lin Luoran once read in a real estate magazine more than a year ago. The price of a villa is about 40 to 50 million yuan. Although the people are getting richer and richer, most of the wealth of a rich man is in real estate. Few people are willing to spend 40 to 50 million yuan to buy a holiday villa. Therefore, Lin Luoran read in a magazine that most of the villas here are for rent. Even so, the high rent is daunting for Lin Luoran, who is not even a white-collar worker. Where is she now if she is not cultivating? Lin Luoran gets out of the taxi and stares at the entrance of the villa group in a daze. A year ago, she would never have imagined that one day, she would own such a house. Cultivation was not for wealth and honor, but if one could cultivate while making the lives of themselves and their loved ones better, no one would be stupid enough to refuse such an opportunity. Lin Luoran makes a mistake when she enters the villa. The guard has never seen the owner of the villa in a taxi. If Lin Luoran is not beautiful, he might not even pay attention to her. Fortunately, this villa is under Lin Luoran's name. She shows her ID card and gets in smoothly. The villa is surrounded by mountain roads. The place where Mr. and Mrs. Lin live is at the innermost corner. There is a bluestone pier outside the single-family villa. In front of the door, there is a big lake which separates it from other villas. With some natural barriers, it is very private. It is nearly 10 o'clock in the evening, but there is no light in the villa. Are they all asleep? Baojia is not a person who goes to bed so early. Lin Luoran feels strange. Seeing that the door is unlocked, she sneaks in. There is no sound of breathing in the house. It is not that the villa is asleep, but that no one is inside. Where are Mr. and Mrs. Lin, Baojia, and Luodong? Lin Luoran first suspects that they have returned to their home in our city, but she denies it immediately. Although the security work of the villa is good, it is not enough to let them go home without closing the door. Is something wrong? Lin Luoran feels uneasy at the thought of this, even if there is only a slim possibility. Lin Luoran runs across the lawn in front of the villa and comes to the house. The door is not locked. Lin Luoran pushes the door open and checks the house quickly. Fortunately, everything in the house is in good order and there is no trace of disorder. It seems that nothing happened at home. Mr. Lin and the others should be safe. Maybe Mr. Lin and the others went out for a walk. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that this was more likely. Lin Luoran breathes a sigh of relief and starts to look around the villa. As the nominal owner, it is the first time for her to see her second property. Different from the Lin mansion in Chengdu, this villa was pure European style. There was a total of 3 floors. Because it was hidden in the gaps between the towering trees, the 3rd floor had a large floor-to-ceiling glass window. It was estimated that one could overlook the scenery of the mountain from upstairs. Also, because of the shade of the trees, it was cool even in the summer, so there was no need to be afraid of the scorching sun. The area of the house alone was 700 or 800 square meters, let alone 3 floors high. The space of the house was enough for Lin Luoran's 7 aunts and relatives to live here, not to mention Lin Luoran's family. The yard was surrounded by iron railings, and there was a huge open-air swimming pool inside. The rest of the yard was paved with grass, and there was a circle of roses in the corner, which were in full bloom in the past 2 days. There was also a swing under the vines. At first glance, it looked no different from an ordinary villa, but the details were exquisite and different. Wait, what is that round thing in the corner? Lin Luoran looked carefully and couldn't help but laugh. The cowpea vines and eggplants on the bamboo rack were just right. The round purple eggplants and the long cowpeas were not shy at all in this European-style mansion. This must be the masterpiece of Mrs. Lin. Mr. Lin was passionate about cooking, and he didn't worry about where the ingredients came from at all. Lin Luoran was thinking whether she should give some seeds optimized by the space to Mrs. Lin. Suddenly, she heard a girl's laughter, which was as clear as the crisp plums that would only be on the market in summer. Lin Luoran couldn't help but stand still and listen. The longer Lin Luoran listened, the wider the smile on her face became. In the end, she was so happy that she almost became a fool under the dim streetlight. Baojia reminded Mrs. Lin to be careful and slowed down to wait for Mr. Lin. In Baojia's arms, Luodong was asleep. Young Master N's vegetarian dishes are really good. Is he patient with Luodong? Baojia, do you think we should invite him back? It was Mrs. Lin who often went to the Taoist temple at the back of the mountain to freeload meals. She was impressed by young Master N's cooking, so she felt embarrassed after eating for a long time. The taste of those vegetables was not any worse than the vegetables Xiao Ran brought back in the past. They were both eggplants, but they were grown by themselves. No matter how they cooked it, it would not taste the same. Baojia was in a cold sweat. The young master and that Mrs. Lin mentioned was the eldest apprentice of the Qingqing school. That old Taoist loved him a lot. Every time An cooked, Baojia knew that An would be scolded. A cultivator who was obsessed with pots and pans all day long would definitely make his master angry. Baojia and her parents had moved to the Qingqing villa for more than 3 months. At first, she took care of Baojia's parents on behalf of her best friend. As time went by, Mrs. Lin took great care of Baojia. Although Mr. Lin didn't like to talk, he knew that Baojia loved to eat fish. He always caught some wild fish for Baojia under the guise of fishing. Sometimes, Baojia even thought that if her parents were still alive, they would be in the same situation. These 3 months were the best and warmest days in Baojia's life. How nice it would be if Luoran was here. Thinking of the news from the capital that her best friend had been missing for more than 2 months, Baojia hides the worry in her eyes and smiles with her mother again. She hasn't told her parents the news yet. The excuse she gave was that her best friend was working for the country and couldn't contact the outside world. If Luoran still didn't come back, Baojia really didn't know how to make it up. Sure enough, as soon as Baojia thought of this, Mrs. Lin began to nag again. What's going on? There are so many people in the state of Huaxia. Why did Luoran have to do some damn task? She didn't even come back for the new year. Now it's almost summer, and she didn't even have a phone call. Mrs. Lin never stopped talking in front of her acquaintances. Now that her life is carefree, she is more cheerful. She is no longer the same as she was when she was in Li's village. She seemed to be born inferior because she didn't have the same surname. Mr. Lin is still the same. Hearing Mrs. Lin's complaints, he can't help retorting, no matter how capable she is still from the state of Huaxia. What's wrong with helping the country occasionally? You old lady, you talk too much. Mrs. Lin is angry. Which part of me is old? Mr. Lin looks at his wife, who has changed a lot. Her hair is black. Except for the wrinkles around her eyes are bright and her teeth are white. She really doesn't look old at all. Mr. Lin can only keep his mouth shut and let Mrs. Lin scold him. In fact, compared with Mrs. Lin, Mr. Lin has changed the most. Both of them have become younger. Mr. Lin not only looks like a man under 40, but his facial features stand out when he is young. He looks like an elegant and mature man. Mrs. Lin feels it unfair. In fact, as a woman, she is more or less worried that Mr. Lin doesn't like her. It is said that a daughter takes after her father. In fact, Luoran's facial features are mostly inherited from Mr. Lin. Therefore, when Mr. Lin becomes younger and he is no longer dressed like an old farmer, his temperament naturally stands out. Seeing that Baojia and Lin Luoran start to talk about this old contradiction again, Baojia feels a headache. Women always love to be beautiful. Mrs. Lin doesn't mind. Unless Luoran's appearance is better than Mr. Lin's, there is nothing she can do. She has walked past the bluestone pier. Holding Luodong in one hand, Baojia pushes open the door of the villa. Under the light from outside the wall, there is a pretty figure standing there. Baojia takes a while to recognize the familiar face. Baojia almost cries. Standing in the grass is her best friend who has been missing for more than 2 months. Her eyes are also shining with tears, Lin Luoran, who seems to be prettier than before. Why don't you go in? Mrs. Lin is wondering why Baojia is standing at the door. After a few steps, she sees her daughter standing under the street light. Ah! She rushes over and hugs Lin Luoran regardless of her tears. Luoran, you are finally back. Mrs. Lin hasn't seen Lin Luoran for more than 3 months. She is on a mission that they can't even contact. Mrs. Lin feels that Lin Luoran is all right. She holds Lin Luoran in her arms and doesn't want to let go. Lin Luoran comforts her mother and says, "Dad." Mr. Lin secretly wipes away the tears on his face with his sleeve and says, "It's good that you are back. It's good that you are back. Baojia, thank you for your hard work in the past 3 months." Lin Luoran looks at Baojia seriously. She is sincerely grateful to Baojia for helping her to hide the truth of her disappearance. It seems that her parents don't know that she has disappeared. Baojia blinks back her tears and hits Lin Luoran. Don't thank me. Why are we talking about these things? Luodong is woken up by the voices of the adults and Baojia's movements. He opens his eyes in a daze and sees Lin Luoran. He thinks he is dreaming, so he murmurs and falls asleep again. Lin Luoran's childish behavior sweeps away the sad atmosphere. Even Mr. Lin, who is always strict, laughs. The family walks into the house together. Lin Luoran is half a step behind them. Looking at her young parents and lively Baojia, she feels warm. It's good to be home. At the same time, in an ordinary wooden house in the backyard of the Qingqing Taoist temple, which is a few kilometers away from Luodong, an old Taoist opens his eyes. Oh, she is back. Master Mu and Master Mu are worrying for nothing. How could such a lucky girl get into trouble? A head pops in through the crack of the door, revealing the baby face of young Taoist and, Master, who did you say was lucky? Smelling the smell of fried tofu on his apprentice, the old Taoist is furious. He has been a cultivator for so many years. Why did he find such an apprentice in the first place? The old Taoist is angry, and the consequences are serious. The next morning, Lin Luoran gets up especially early. When Baojia goes to Lin Luoran's room to wake her up, Lin Luoran is already gone. Baojia looks around and finds that Lin Luoran is shaking her feet on a big branch behind the villa. Baojia is so carefree and childish. Even though Baojia has the Taoist root, she has only learned some breathing techniques from Lin Luoran. Baojia is on the verge of training qi into her body. She doesn't have the bead as Lin Luoran does, but she has to refine Reiki every day like Wen Guanjing and other modern cultivators. Therefore, she is just a beginner and is still far away from the beginning of training qi. When Baojia is about to say something, Lin Luoran shows 5 balls of light in different colors in her hand and smiles at her friend weirdly. Baojia asks cautiously, Linny, what are you going to do? Lin Luoran pretends to be fascinated. It's lonely living in the mountain. Of course, I want to have sex. Baojia is about to spit at her when the 5 balls of light suddenly fly to her. She thinks that Lin Luoran is teasing her, so she screams. The 5 balls of light circle Baojia, who is screaming for a while. Baojia is surprised. She seems to notice that the 5 balls of light are not dangerous but good. They are not ordinary 5-colored balls of light. They are peaceful and harmless Reiki of 5 natures. For Baojia, who has suffered enough from the bad temper of Reiki, the 5 balls of light are more attractive than a good car in front of her. Baojia doesn't care about the dirt on the ground. She sits down and starts to absorb the Reiki on the spot. Among the 5 natures of Reiki, the green one is absorbed into Baojia's body first, and then the blue one is also absorbed. The remaining 3 balls of Reiki dissipate without any wind. They slowly dissipate and disappear again. The natures of water and wood. Just like Commander Qin's grandmother, Baojia has inherited it from another generation. Lin Luoran doesn't disturb her friend. Instead, she jumps down from the treetop easily. Cultivators with the Taoist root usually have to be in the level of laying foundation to identify the nature of a person with the Taoist root. That's because ordinary cultivators can't possess all 5 elements. They can't borrow Reiki of other natures when they are in the level of training qi. Only when they are in the level of laying foundation can they use the coexistence between the 5 elements to sense Reiki of other natures for a short time, like Master Mu. Then they can really identify the nature of a person's Taoist root. However, this is not a limitation for Lin Luoran, because she can sense all the 5 natures. Should she identify the Taoist root for her parents? Lin Luoran thinks that her mother hasn't found the sense of qi yet, and she is not ready to face the worst yet. Therefore, she decides to put this problem off for a while. Baojia finishes absorbing Reiki and rushes into the dining room after the breakfast prepared by Mrs. Lin. Luodong is expressing his dissatisfaction that Baojia didn't wake him up last night with angry eyes. Luodong rushes into the dining room and shouts, "Someone is bullying me just because he has a higher level of cultivation. Mrs. Lin, you have to help me." Lin Luoran doesn't hide and says slowly, "Bullying? I was going to give her a treasure when she enters the early stage of training qi. That's why I helped her. Alas, my kindness is misunderstood. It seems that I can save my treasure." Lin Luoran deliberately stresses the word baojia, which hits Baojia's weakness of curiosity. She asks suspiciously, "Are you serious? What treasure do you want to give me? Tell me and I'll let you go. Otherwise, humph." Lin Luoran shakes her head, "I can't tell you now. You have to work hard." "You." Baojia glares at Lin Luoran. She has to use her ultimate weapon now. When Baojia is about to tickle Lin Luoran, her mother knocks on their heads with chopsticks. "How old are the two of you? Hurry up and eat breakfast." Mrs. Lin, who has changed her appearance and temper recently, says what she wants. No one dares to talk back. Baojia has to eat her porridge obediently. Lin Luoran also tells Baojia that she has seeds to offer to Lin Luoran. Mrs. Lin's eyes light up. She is becoming more and more picky. She is not convinced that An is better at eating vegetarian food. Therefore, she has been thinking of returning the invitation. Now that her daughter is back and she has enough ingredients, she puts the invitation on the agenda. More importantly, if she can grow such delicious vegetables, An will be begging her to eat vegetarian food. In that case, An will be able to eat vegetarian food whenever he wants. Mr. Lin is happy to see that his mother is interested in his daughter's words. At least now that his mother has something to do, she doesn't have to worry about her appearance all the time. Good. Grow vegetables. Luodong is interested in playing in the mud. He claps his hands and agrees. Hearing this, Baojia speeds up. She eats porridge like a whirlwind, which makes everyone in the room snicker. At the same time, in the Qingqing Taoist temple at the back of the mountain, the baby-faced young master An is working hard to make tofu pudding. He suddenly sneezes. Young Taoist An scratched his head. Who was thinking about him? A younger brother rushes in. Seeing that An is making food again, he is so angry that he pulls An's sleeve and says, "Brother, the master is looking for you." Chapter 138. After breakfast, Lin Luoran takes out some seeds of the vegetables and fruits in her space and gives them to her mom. In fact, the yard of this European-style mansion is full of peppers and cowpeas, which affects the overall harmony. However, Lin Luoran is a person who doesn't mind if her parents demolish the house and rebuild it as long as they are happy. Therefore, Lin Luoran just lets her mom decide what to plant. It's not that Lin Luoran is such a foodie that she thinks about food all day long. Well, life is long. Although food is indispensable, the desire for good food is one of the reasons. What's more important is that all the vegetables and fruits in the secular world are made with pesticides. When you go to the supermarket, you will find that the vegetables in the market are clean and there are no bug eyes on the cabbage. Is this normal? As for meat, there are all kinds of additives, which can also make people panic. It is said that even steamed buns have to be made. Living in the city, there is really no food that can be eaten safely. In the past, they had no choice. Now that they have the space, their parents have more free time. They don't have to work on the farm to make a living like before. Now they have a lot of time to take care of the flowers and vegetables, which are also the spiritual sustenance of their parents. What's more, the vegetables and fruits cultivated in the space have the effect of removing toxins from the human body and slowly improving the body's physique. For ordinary people, it just makes the body healthier. For cultivators, it is also a kind of auxiliary cultivation. If the vegetables and fruits are planted well, it is not strange that they can evolve into spirit vegetables and spirit fruits. Mrs. Lin instructs Mr. Lin to loosen the soil around the iron fence in the back of the villa and the yard. Lin Luoran is afraid that the optimized seeds in the space will be wasted, so she takes out a pile of soil from the space and spreads it on the ground where Mrs. Lin is going to plant the seeds. Luodong is sent to water the seeds. Of course, the water in the space is diluted by the water in the spring. Anyway, the soil in the space is endless and the water will not be less. Baojia is bored, so Lin Luoran simply gives her the task of planting the soil and she is going to add some security barriers to the villa. The lotus seeds in her hand are collected by Lin Luoran in the secret land. They are called iron thorns. Although they are not spirit herbs and cannot be used as medicines, Lin Luoran will not collect them for nothing. She plants the iron thorns one by one against the wall. After watering them, she casts a spell with her right hand and casts a wood spell called Growth Spell, which is at the same level as Healing Spell. Green light gathers on Lin Luoran's fingertips. Baojia has been so eager recently that she can't help but stop to watch Lin cast the spell. Lin Luoran finishes a set of spells and the Growth Spell takes shape in her hands. She says, "Spell finished. Go." The green light in her hand blossomed and turned into a rain of wood reiki, accurately watering every iron thorn seed. With a slight cracking sound, the iron thorn seedling broke through the hard outer shell, passed through the thick layer of soil, and popped out its head with 2 leaves on top. Baojia's eyes almost pop out. Mr. and Mrs. Lin also stop what they are doing. As for Luodong, this totally subverts his worldview. He blinks his big eyes and no one knows what he is thinking. Lin Luoran's forehead is covered with sweat. Although she has reached the consummation of training qi, she can freely cast these spells which used to be very difficult. However, this time she casts them in such a large area that she is still a little tired. When the iron thorns grew 4 or 5 leaves, the growth spell was different from the binding spell. The growth spell could instantly strengthen the various functions of plants and turn the grass into something as tough and slender as iron wires to hurt people. However, the growth spell consumed the plant's life essence. Growth spell is different. It uses the pure reiki of the wood to speed up the growth of plants without destroying their vitality. Although the speed is relatively slow, it is a long-term solution. At first, Lin Luoran is shocked when she sees the growth spell. Though it is slower than the space, it can be cast by cultivators in the later stage of training qi. What's the advantage of her space? Fortunately, Lin Luoran sees a row of small red words at the end of the note. It is a warning to rookies like Lin Luoran that this spell should not be cast on spirit herbs and spirit materials. Otherwise, the herbs and materials will lose their efficacy. Lin Luoran breathes a sigh of relief. At the same time, she has an evil thought. Judging from the exclamation marks on the note of this spell, many people must have done this. They have destroyed countless spirit herbs and reiki materials. That's why the senior practitioner who wrote Spells of the 5 Elements is so angry. Seeing that Lin Luoran stops and the seedlings stop growing, Baojia is so envious that she almost drools. "Linny, you should have done this earlier. Uncle Yuan is the father of rice. How many crops can you get in a year with just a wave of your hand?" Lin Luoran is embarrassed. Is this a compliment? Baojia doesn't know what's going on. She continues to talk nonsense. How awesome would that be? Think about it. Every day, you'll be flying all over the place to cast spells. That's how bold a person is, how productive the land is. Lin Luoran's temples are throbbing because of Baojia's compliments. She remembers the first time they met 10 years ago. At that time, Baojia was still a cold female knight. How come she becomes like this now? Before she was injured, she was a domineering lady. When did she become so talkative? Lin Luoran suspects that Baojia has been led astray by her mother. Stop. You have the nature of water and wood. I will leave this difficult task to you. You don't even need to water the plants. You can benefit the people of the state of Huaxia alone. Baojia's eyes are shining. In fact, she says so much because she is envious of Lin Luoran's awesome spell. As for the fact that she has the nature of water and wood, Baojia has already asked the old Taoist in the Qingqing Taoist temple to identify her. If one day, she can make everything grow. While Baojia is immersed in her dream, Lin Luoran bursts into laughter. Sister Baojia, you must be dreaming again. If you don't practice hard, you won't be able to do that even after 10 years. Baojia knows that Lin Luoran is encouraging her. She hums and ignores it. It's almost noon. Baojia takes Mrs. Lin's hand to prepare lunch. Lin Luoran smiles and shakes her head. She notices that Luodong is looking at her with curiosity. Lin Luoran wonders if she should test whether he has the Taoist root or not. However, no matter whether he has the Taoist root or not, Lin Luoran's first priority is to solve his autism. Lin Luoran pulls Luodong up and shushes him. She whispers, "Let's go. I'll take you to plant trees." Luodong blinks and follows Lin Luoran to the back of the villa. Luodong is wondering why Lin Luoran is being so mysterious about planting trees. Lin Luoran digs 2 big holes on the side of the villa and disappears in front of Luodong. Luodong is so anxious that he is about to inform his parents. However, Lin Luoran shows up in front of Luodong with a peach tree in her hand. In fact, there is nothing strange about a peach tree. What is strange is that no one plants a peach tree with red and big peaches on it. Watching Lin Luoran planting trees and picking a peach to eat, the little boy feels that his worldview is overturned again. Even though he is autistic, he can't hold it anymore. After thinking for a while, he rushes into the house, ready to talk to Baojia, who has been nice to him in the past 3 months, about such a strange thing. When Luodong runs into the house, a head pops out of the iron gate of the villa. Young Taoist and has a baby face. Although he is handsome, he is a little jumpy in his Taoist robe. "Excuse me, is Sister Lin here?" Baojia doesn't know that it is his birthday until his mom calls him today. Although Baojia has 2 birthdays in a year, please praise him for not going out to play and updating. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.